Hey, happy Saturday. Welcome to Stop the FOMO. Myself, FOMO, and our friend, Whisper Tech,
Whisper
otherwise
Tech.
known as Brian,
What's up,
Whisper
guys?
Status, Tech Therapy, and or I was calling you the beautiful man before you got here. They're like, what's taking
Oh,
so long? Like, hey, you
my
know
God.
what?
More
Even
rouge. I need more rouge.
the diva needs love. Give him some space.
I was
People
blow
in your
drying my
crowd.
hair. I was putting my hairpiece on.
So
How are
today's
you guys?
we're doing great, and everyone's excited, and I can't stop laughing because a lot of people are like, "Wait, all this time I thought Brian was getting the X95L," and then he said, "Forget the X95L. I'm going to get the Samsung Q95C because that is the gaming TV to have." And then at the shootout, you're like, "I'm done with the LED. It
Yeah.
is the A95L 77-inch,"
Yeah.
and then you had a existential crisis. In other words, you're a gamer, but you need the TV to define who you are. And so we put up a poll, like, help Brian out. What should he get? And
Yeah.
this poll will help you kind of navigate your own thoughts. And ultimately, you have behind you the 83-inch A80L, which unusually separates itself from the other smaller A80Ls. I didn't want to say lesser because Lisa was like, no, I'm getting a 55-inch. Don't say lesser. So the smaller A80Ls do not have the heatsink.
Mhm.
And the question is, well, why does the larger one have the heatsink? I mean, obviously it's more expensive, right? It's $4,500, and that's $500 more than the C3 at $39.99, and almost like $1,200, $1,800 more than the $2,700 S90C 83-inch. And so just to let you guys know why it's so expensive, audio is much better than anything out there, better than the G3 83-inch even. It has a heatsink, which is similar to the G3. I think the G3 still has that heatsink on the 83. Could be wrong. We'll have to ask LG. But it's an elevated A80L. Let's call it that. But that's a spec. That's on paper. You have the C2 or the C1, right?
Mhm.
83-inch. You've had the A80J, and now you have the A80L. So you know WOLED well. Share with us your experiences. I put up a poll, what makes it special, and also maybe you could show us some demos. But go through this process. How did you get here, and are you returning this TV? Like, are you happy with it?
It's the out of all the TVs I've seen, or my own personal TVs that I've owned, and I've owned many, it's my favorite TV so far. It's an A80L again. It's 77 inches. No, it's not. It's 83 inches. But for those of you that follow my channel and follow obviously FOMO's channel, I'm a big gamer. But it's really about your environment. It's about your use case. What's up, Iceman? It's about it's less about budget. So we can start there. I think when you take, I know I did get the white. Um, when you remove budget out of the equation, it really gets interesting. So having access to Robert and Value Electronics, I can sit with everything that they have in the showroom, even breaking out the measuring tape, even moving the theater seats back. And after the shootout, let's just go right to the shootout. The A95L, to me, is far and away the best TV in the world. The biggest reason for that is there is no Z3 this year, at least in the US. So that would have been an 88-inch Z3 at 30 grand. So that budget is out of my budget. So, but as far as fantasy TVs, use case, picture quality, all these things matter. But anything I was thinking changed at the shootout because the 900C was there, the Z9K was there, and watching the other LEDs get absolutely dismantled by the OLEDs. Now, I've been to a lot of the shootouts. I've compared many OLEDs to LEDs. To see them lose everywhere they lost is just not something I can be ignorant about. So when I thought about, say, getting the QN95C, even an 85 inch, I know that that micro contrast is missing. I know that that detail is gone. I know that that processing is behind. So when you make the choices you make, you have to add up everything. use case. What are you watching? When are you watching it? This is my studio. I am here editing. I'm here watching, streaming. I game sometimes. So gaming usage changes a little bit. It's not upfront the way it was in my home theater. Streaming is more important than it was 2 years ago when I bought the C1. So now processing is number one. And this year, Sony really differentiated itself in terms of processing. And that mixed with the A80L having the A90J's chassis, build quality, sound capabilities, just sealed it for me.
And well, talk about gaming specifically. Do you notice the heatsink? Lisa's asking, making a difference in terms of brightness, dimming? Because a lot of people have complained that Sony, as a OLED, it has issues with dimming. So versus LG, or maybe even the latest Samsung, what's your experience with dimming in gaming, and did this heatsink change that?
Well, I mean, you can make any of them dim. The S95C dims, the S95B dims. It depends on when they dim. I never try to make my TVs dim. I didn't have a big problem with the A80J. A lot of people did. I don't play hockey games, for instance. So I have not had an issue with them dimming. I didn't think the A80J was the brightest TV. I thought the A80K was a bit better. I thought the A80L, when I finally saw it in person at Robert's store, and you guys, if you don't know that story, the A80L was actually, that's not even true. The A80L was there the week before in a box. I was there filming something else. We didn't bother unboxing it. I returned the next week. The X95L was there. We unboxed that, and Robert just happened to have the A80L unboxed. So Robert can probably confirm this. We weren't, or I wasn't really big on shooting it. No one was interested in it. I wasn't interested in it. Like a lot of you guys, I was looking at MLA and QD-OLED. More importantly, we'd already experienced, FOMO and I, 18-hour stream of QD-OLED and MLA. So I really didn't care until I was filming the X95. And as I was filming it, Robert can tell you, I was looking over my shoulder. I was like, holy crap. And then I stopped filming the X95L and I filmed the A80L. So that XR clear, that processing, that detail on all these demos that everybody says, oh, you can't compare demos. You actually can. There is a difference in clarity, especially in person, let alone when you see in movies and upscaling. That grabbed me. But it is not just the XR clear. It's XR clear in tandem with an OLED that no other manufacturer can say other than Sony. So a G3 can't compete with it. Either can a QD OLED in that one regard. Now at 77, where it's a different story. Why I say that is because then the strengths of QD OLED and then MLA jump ahead. And even the A80L at 77 would still hang with them, or at 65 or 55. But what sets this one apart is at 83, G3 is the same as the G2 in my opinion in a lot of ways. And the S90C is, or the S, what is it, S89C now we're calling it?
Yeah,
TV,
yeah, the 77-inch, right?
So that
From
TV is
Samsung.
unproven. So it's not something that I have seen. Robert didn't have it, though I'm sure he could order it. Unless I can see the way Samsung is treating that TV, I can't invest in it. Back to Samsung quick FOMO. I'm not chasing 144 hertz. I've experienced it on several TVs. The dropouts on the S95C, S90C, Hisense, it's not something I'll chase. So in the beginning of the year with the QN95C, that was a selling point for me. Samsung's less than stellar processing in regards to XR Clear comparing to Sony, Sony beat that. So you can see where I'm weighing things. Now, because I'm at 83 inches, my choices dwindled. With OLED, I'm stuck with only a few choices. And then I jump into mini LED. And as much as I love mini LED, you guys know I'm a fan of that technology. Without the micro contrast, it just cannot compare. And so much of the stuff that we watch now is dark and backlit, master drive, any of the full array local dimming, though they can control the blooming FOMO, they can't give you the micro contrast within the image, meaning within detail and texture. So,
Right.
you know, no matter how sharp an 8K TV is, it'll never compare to a C1, let alone a A80L. It was long.
That makes sense.
I wish I was scripted. Was that scripted? All right, yeah, you take the cue cards down, honey. Take them out. Jesus, I didn't even stutter. There was no like.
Hey, Redmond, thank you for that super chat. Hello, first time watcher. Welcome, Redmond. I just bought the A9 5K. That was $1,500 off. Should I get the X700 4K player or the Panasonic? Will I see a difference? The biggest difference for me, as far as usability, the 820 automatically recognizes Dolby Vision or HDR10 Plus and automatically switches over to either Dolby Vision content or HDR10 Plus. And that's what I love about the UB820. Yes, there's the optimizer, but the optimizer was designed way back when all the TVs sucked for HDR. I personally believe that the tone mapping on most of the modern flagship TVs are more than good enough. You don't need the UB820 for that optimizer anymore. Now, for things like ultra short throw and the technologies that are still struggling with tone mapping, absolutely. The other difference is the X700 does not have auto detect. It has Dolby Vision, but you have to manually engage it when you have Dolby Vision content and disengage it if the content is not Dolby Vision, or it'll screw up the image. And so if you want the convenience, the UB or UDP 820 is the way to go. But if you don't care and you're okay manually enabling and disabling, the X700 is fine. I have both. I've used both for my reviews. I find them both pretty reliable. The 820 I do like, though. They have slow motion, frame by frame, if you enjoy that kind of thing. I need it. That's why I use the UB820. But other than that, they're very similar. If you're just watching straight up HDR and you don't really care about Dolby Vision, they're both fine. Get the Sony. Now, some people complain that the larger, higher bitrate Blu-rays, there's a lot more failures on the X700. But then I get the same complaints about the UB820. So, it's the players are old now. They're 4 years old. They're not releasing any new ones. Now, you can get a top of the line one, like the Magnetar, but the Magnetars are like over $1,000 at $1,400 or whatever. So that should be better in terms of reading the higher bitrate Blu-ray discs, but they lack some of the features of the Panasonic. So definitely for the value, get the UB820 because I do value the auto detect. So hopefully that was helpful.
Nice.
Now, Brian, gaming. What games did you see the most difference? Like in terms, like we mentioned, just content watching, sharpness is better for low bitrate content and the like. But when gaming, these are high quality games, right? There's no bitrate issue. You got the highest quality into the A80L. How does it differ when you're gaming the same games you've been gaming hours on end on your LG OLED TVs, like the C1, C2?
C1.
C1?
But the important to know is XR Clear is not really doing anything in gaming.
Okay.
It's disabled for the most part in regards to latency. We all want an XR Clear game mode. That said, Sony's upscaling, its baseline upscaling, is still doing a better job than most companies. However, again, dealing with a PC, I rock a 4090. I have everything maxed. It is comparable, looks as good as any of the other OLEDs. It's a good looking TV. It's an OLED. It's a bit brighter each generation. Where I'd say it improves over my C1 at 83 is that it's a very clean panel. I don't have any noticeable gray uniformity issues that I've had on all of my LG OLEDs.
That's something
Especially,
that's interesting, right?
yeah,
83-inch used to be an issue. 7783 used to have issues with banding and all this stuff. So you're saying your A80L is pretty clean.
it's pretty clean. But I didn't see a lot of banding on the A90J either a few years ago. So I don't know if it's because, and I'll have to ask Rob, either Robert or Rob Brennan, what the quantity is for these TVs. It's still 83-inch. The fact that they're using the A90J chassis, is that because there was A90Js left over? They still sell the A90J, by the way.
Right.
So I'm not sure why that is. I would say with gaming, with an OLED, no matter what kind of OLED you're using, you're going to have gorgeous picture quality. I'll say where the A80L will fall short is the game bar is anemic on any of the new Sony TVs other than the A95L. The A95L definitely has, yeah, it does small. It's we're probably 25 feet away from it.
I was going to
Um,
ask you, how far is that TV behind you? So they have a relative idea.
so
It looks like maybe it's 20
probably
feet.
20. It's probably 22 feet away.
Okay. So from that distance, you need a 240-inch TV.
So even where you can see now, here's the thing: if you guys look right here, that's the seating position for movies. And that ottoman that you see there is game chair. That's where the game chair that what I'm in now will go. So when I game, I'm probably 7 feet from it. So
Mhm.
I'm actually farther away than I would be with the C1 at home. The C1 at home is 6 feet away for gaming, 9 feet for movies. So I would actually say this seating position is probably too far. However, in my opinion, the jump from an 83-inch OLED to a 100-inch LED, picture quality wise, is not anything I could deal with. In my
Now,
humble opinion, go ahead.
no, this is a great question because it gives us context as to what was your best TV model before the 83-inch A80L. So they know, first of all, what did you upgrade from? And then there's context when you say, well, I see this is better.
So in my history, upgrading from I'm not upgrading. This is a new TV. This is a new environment. That's important. The TV that it would be my last TV would be an A80J 77-inch, and then a C1. C1 was right before that. In my history, though, it's been as high as a 78Q or KS 9800, $13,000 TV, which was full array. As far as my experience, my personal experience within the store, you're looking at the best TVs in the world, which would be the Z2, the Z9, yeah, that's pretty much to me. Those are the two best TVs in the world. Would be the 8K OLEDs.
Mm.
So I just don't. I don't see other than let's just rephrase that. The A95L is the best TV I've ever seen in person altogether. Now, the Z series is right there with size and gradients, and it's
Can I
8K.
stop you right there with
Sure.
the A95L?
Mhm.
So you and I both acknowledge that's not just an amazing TV watching experience for streaming and just regular content watching, but also a great gaming TV. Now
Mhm.
it stops at 77 inches. Is that extra few inches to 83 so important? Because the price is so similar.
Massive.
What drove you to get the
So
A80L over
good.
the A95L?
So you and I talked about this off camera, and I did this at the store too, because obviously I filmed the A95L, and then I sat back from it, and I tried to picture myself playing a game on it more than watching a TV. And then I went home, and I was so happy to see my C1. And what I mean by that is I think about all these inanimate objects as organisms, living things. So when I saw my C1, I wanted to hug it. The immersion of gaming on something that is as wide as my which as wide as my wingspan.
And
Having
from
it,
7 feet away.
yeah, it's just engulfing you. But having the clarity of an OLED that close, I immediately forgot everything I saw before that. So my point is, if you take a TV like the A95L and then you should go home, even that little period of time, you would not like what you see. I was more than happy to see the C1, and that was because the size alone overcomes it. So if you were
So,
to say to me right now, I'll give you A95L at 77 or a
mhm.
C1 at 83, I'm still leaving with the C1
And
simply
this takes
because.
us
Go ahead.
to Vinsanity's question.
Yep. What's up,
Size,
Vince?
I'm
I wish that
convinced.
was Vince Carter.
The question then is, now, Robert just confirmed the G3 also has the heatsink.
Mhm.
Since they both have the heatsink and they both share WOLED, why the A80L over the G3? Price being similar enough.
So I love LG, love their products. I've had several of their OLEDs. To me, and this has nothing to do with what we talked about with D Nice saying this, he felt the processing was a step back. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe he does the way he was looking at the TVs. I haven't experienced that at all. I think the G3 is excellent at all sizes. The thing is the G3 without MLA? I can't, in good conscience, make that purchase having experienced MLA. So then I'm looking at a G2. Now I'm back processing wise. So you see the conundrum. Now we're going backwards. Making that choice for gaming alone doesn't make sense to me. Also, LG may have taken a step back gaming wise this year. I didn't experience that. I don't have an issue with SDR brightness. A lot of the guys that because FOMO, think about this is LG's issue too. They came out so early in the year. I haven't seen the G3 again for a
Mhm.
long time, other than when I'm in the store filming. I haven't spent time with the G3 in 3 or 4 months. I didn't go back and re-review it. But the fact is, I'm not chasing. Doesn't have 144 hertz. The game mode looks as good. I miss the game optimizer, but is that worth it over the processing where Sony really pulled ahead this year? And think about it,
And you're
FOMO.
talking about the XR Clear for
XR Clear.
streaming, all
Yes,
that stuff. Yeah.
yes. But if you guys think about how much more prominently streaming plays into what we do now,
Mhm.
um, I just bought 2 new 4K Blu-rays. I wish I didn't buy them because they were both updated on Apple for quarter of the price. It was The Exorcist and Brother of the Wolf. So I'm 80 bucks in the hole, and both of them are on there for $5. So I won't be doing that anymore. But streaming is so important. Plus,
Yeah.
there's an elegance with this one. I don't like the G's design
And the audio, that's you now I
in
know
the
you have the
audio.
HTA9. We'll talk about that compatibility shortly,
Yep.
but the audio, for those of you who don't want to use a sound bar, and Netflix research shows that over 90% watch their TVs with no sound bar, just the TV audio. The A80L's audio is very good. It is top notch and definitely exceeds the G3. So for many people, that alone could be the difference. Now, sticking with insanity, I was going to hit this question real quick. Would you guys get the Panasonic top OLED, the MZ2000, if it was available in the US, or stick with the Sony? So here's the thing. The top spec MZ2000, we're comparing that to the Sony A95L. I would choose the MZ2000 over the G3 based on European reviews. Now, not having it personally, I'm just looking at their impressions. It appears that it's as bright, if not brighter, than the G3. They both have MLA, and it has better processing near black. So you don't have the black crushing that I've been getting with the G3. I have to make lots of adjustments to the G3 to get that black right.
Yeah.
Out of the box, it's really hard. And the Sony A95L, it's a different beast. It's got slight XR clear. It's got its image processing. It has its thing. Panasonic, probably Dolby Vision is probably better worked out than the Sony's Dolby Vision right now, the A95L. So it depends on your content. However, the UI on the Panasonic is just, it's getting horrible reviews because it
Like the
feels like
plasma.
it's on.
It's a
It's like
plasma.
they haven't changed anything or went backwards with the UI. So if you plan to use the TV's UI, then maybe the Sony wins on quality of life because it's just easier and snappier. And these are the little things. Now, if you're planning to plug in a Fire TV, a Roku, Apple TV, NVIDIA Shield, fine. Panasonic's great. But if you look at the recent review, the one in Germany where they did this double blind test, ultimately they all are so close that the winner and loser was in a couple of scenes that you guys probably don't watch. The rest indistinguishable, and that leaves you with quality of life, which is the audio. If you don't use a soundbar, the UI, the platform streaming availability, that stuff ends up making a bigger difference. And that's why I choose the Sony is I watch a lot of sports. I watch a lot of streaming. Sometimes the streaming quality isn't great for whatever reason. Sony cleans it up better than anyone else out there. Now, not having compared it with Panasonic head to head, I can't say that Panasonic doesn't do as good of a job. So that's something that we'll have to leave out there.
Yep.
But since we don't get it, it's kind of a moot point. But you
Can't
know,
win if you don't
it's
play.
good to bring it up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and you can't win.
Yeah.
And someone said that they went from a Sony and an LG to an S90C. I have no issues. I love the QD OLEDs and I love MLA, but again, you guys got to think it's not what's better. It should never be about what's better. Right now, the best TV in the world is A95L, in my opinion. I don't care about double blind in Germany. I know what I've seen. I know what I've tested. I know what I've been around, and I was shocked at how good that TV was in all content, not just in streaming. But once we saw it in streaming, that's what most of you do. It really comes down to what's the best TV for you.
And I want to hit some super chats. Thank you for waiting
Good.
patiently. We have so many people jumping in and out. So obviously, I can see it better if you super chat. I can catch you. But if you are asking questions, I miss it. Just keep on asking. Eventually, I'll find it. Jonathan asks, "How are the internal apps on the A80L? Is the Apple TV 4K needed? Is the quality the same? What are your thoughts? Why do you have the Apple TV? Is the internal app not good enough? What are your thoughts on that?"
I just have the Apple TV for me for convenience, and I like the Apple Store. And Sony doesn't have the Apple Store available. The Apple TV app on the Sony Unlike LG, you can still make purchases through it. Sony, you cannot, so you're kind of just stuck. So I just use it for ease of use. But the internal apps are fine. I'm not somebody who gets really caught up in that. If it's slow, it's slow. These TVs are not designed to be PCs. They all stutter. Every single one of them will have a hiccup. The TV's trying to do a lot. So it's fine for what you need it for. But for Apple TV purchasing, that's why I use the Apple TV.
And just following up, thank you, Redman.
He's like, cool, Panasonic, perfect.
Yep, the Panasonic disc player, not a TV. Now, for surround, Sonos with the Eras or the new Nakamichi Dragon. So you got to remember, the reason the Sonos is expensive is it's invested a lot of money into its music ecosystem, whole house sharing.
Yeah.
If you're not planning on listening to music whole house style, where you're putting different Sonos speakers everywhere, you're sharing music in different rooms, you're not using the Sonos how it's designed from the ground up. So you're spending a lot more and getting just movie immersion. For, I think the Nakamichi would be the one to get for total movie immersion. So if you do
11
a lot of
channels, right? Is it 11 channel?
It's 2 subs, 4 surround. The Sonos is not designed to compete with that. The Sonos
No, I would get a knock. I would tell
differently.
you, with all the stuff that you and I go through with separates and amps, I have the Polks, and Robert and I got to talk about what amp I need. The amp costs more than the amp costs more than a Nakamichi Dragon.
Right.
And so
it needs to drive giant speakers, so you got to have the power.
It's just got to drive it, and then which one, and this and that. And to be honest, I'd rather just go with something like that next time.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm changing versus the physical media. Is now ease of use is so much more important than fiddling around with stuff.
Well, that's why some people are like, wait, if I can get a TV with super good audio, I might skip the soundbar altogether. Now, the bass will never be there. So speaking of bass, the Nakamichi has more powerful subwoofers. I know with the Sonos you can add multiple subwoofers, but ultimately the Nakamichi is specifically designed for surround movie immersion. It's very focused on that effect, and go with the Nakamichi if that's your budget. Again, if you do whole house music sharing, all that stuff, the Sonos is designed for that. So definitely use case specific. They're both good, but I would err on the side of the Nakamichi Dragon for sure. And now 7 feet from 83 inches. Don, if you saw the shootout, you would have noticed that this is where Phil Holland put together a viewing angle spacing, right? He had the 75-inch TV. He had us at 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70-degree viewing angle. And ultimately, we were like 6 feet away from a 75-inch TV. It looked fine. And that's the crazy part. So
and Don, it's 6 feet, by the way. 6 feet.
You're 6 feet away from
6 feet game.
Inch.
That's why I'm so tan all the time. Well, I'm telling you. But here's the funny thing. So if we stop right here, what made me then go away from the QN95C is that I didn't even review it. I was so busy wanting to buy it that I never put up the review. And I love the TV. But what I did is I went from 6 feet, I moved up to 5 simply because there was stuff in the back room that TVs were being calibrated. And it was so soft that close that I began to miss the micro contrast. So there is, with mini LED, you can't be as close as you can with an OLED for that reason, which I never thought of until I saw it.
Yeah.
Lisa got a new TV, by the way.
Well, that's the thing. She got a new TV and she's worried. I mean, as we all do. A80L, A95K, the prices are so close. I'm at 55 inches. DSE, we know generally on the QD OLEDs is better. On the A80L, but then she doesn't have the XR clear if she goes to the A95K. What are your thoughts? Because she's still debating. Even though she's committed spiritually to the A80L, she's only one swap away from getting the A95K.
Well, I mean, to me, QD OLED still wins. I still love that technology more than any. To me, it's a huge leap. For Lisa, XR Clear isn't magic. It's not going to make everything look amazing, but it is a step up in processing. So what you're choosing is the old processor versus the new processor. Now the A95L has the new UI, so that's something you don't have anyway with the A95K. I would always go with the newer TV. With the A95K, you're basically paying the same price of a brand new TV a year later. So you are still paying kind of a premium, Lisa, at 55. I wouldn't worry about DSE or gray uniformity issues at 55. You won't see anything. It'll be clean. So what I would do is take it home, try it, see what you think. I think you'll be very happy with it.
Now, this is the
It's a great
exact same
question. How you doing, Christian?
This is the question I gave you. I go, Brian, we're almost at the end of the year. If you wait just 2 more months, don't you want a jump on the 83-inch MLA G4? Now, 50/50 is going to be there. I cannot guarantee it will be there, but let's just say it has a 50/50 chance of coming out next year.
So this is where
Did this go into your equation at all?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, so look, I've cornered everybody in this industry. Rob Brennan, Chirag from Samsung Displays, Robert Zone, to get a little bit of an indication on what's coming. Is MLA in the cards? And I watch their face every time. FOMO and I both have done it. And no indication that they're coming. Now I will tell you this: you guys can be in the comments and you can laugh if I'm wrong. But this is the part about what I do as an influencer, whatever the hell they call us these days. I'm not marrying this TV. So if I end up getting something else a year or two away, I'll be okay. For you guys, that's the tough part, is that you are buying a TV for what's FOMO? 4 years, 5 years is the average thing. So I'm always aware that I'll be switching TVs out at some point. So for me, this is not in my house. This is in an apartment. I have a 2-year lease. I'm already giving myself a finite time. So for me, I'm not worried about that. It's not my end all be all. So that's the way you have to understand why I choose what I'm choosing and who I am choosing it is so important. That's why the video about what would an influencer, I hate that word. YouTuber is even worse. Well, I'll marry you, Leo. What's up, baby? Handsome. But what I choose and why I choose it, you can take some of that and not all of it. FOMO and I were saying, if you're an enthusiast, buying certain things doesn't work. For me, being on the cutting edge isn't super important simply because I know, give you an example, FOMO. We know that what Samsung wants with Samsung displays is monitors, more sizes, refinement. The fact that the S90C released it all at 83 inches and it's not QD-OLED shows me it's not coming. LG's MLA, I highly doubt. Now, it would be very smart for them, FOMO, to go 83, but there'd be more money in it for them to go 55. C-Series MLA, 83, they make no money off of, by the way. Really. They don't sell enough of them in terms of quantity. So for them, they much rather put MLA, if I'm guessing, into their C-Series. And that's where they'll make their money. Because you got, how many of you guys in, here's a question. For all you guys in the chat, we have, 348. How many of you are in the market for 80 inches? I promise you that, think about value, how much they cost. Not many people can buy them. So, that's really a part of it for me, is I don't think it's something that's going to happen. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you I'm wrong, but then I'll just get that at some point. But I also know, FOMO, the difference is not so bad or not so crazy that I have to run out and get it today. So that's the good thing about the differences with everything.
Well, that makes sense. And boy, we've got a lot of people just wondering about your thought process. I love it. So this one.
What's up, Dwayne? What's up, Nigel? What's up, Danny? What's up, Chris? What's up, Lisa?
To get caught up
Zona?
with our super chats. You guys are awesome for being patient. Thank you. And an idea of when QD-OLED will get a larger size. My guess, Eric, is probably not 2024, but 2025. Again, my speculation, we'll get more hints during CES 2024 if it's coming in 2024, but I believe 2025 will be the year of the 83-inch QD-OLED. The more likely candidate is an MLA. Will that come to an 83-inch? Because LG has all the technology there ready to go, whereas Samsung would need more tooling to actually make an 83-inch size QD-OLED. So, we'll see. Definitely. We'll see for sure.
Well, and with LG, though, what makes me apprehensive on that is the Z series doesn't have MLA at 88. It had it at 77. So for me, if they had an 88-inch MLA, FOMO, forget it. I'd be like, okay, that's coming down. I just don't have any indication that they're going to spend the money tooling for
Right.
that size for a
Right.
size that's not popular. It's pop. You gotta remember, we're all enthusiasts, so that size is popular. But 65 inch is what the most popular size, and 77 is now the hot size. But when you saw my video of me comparing the G2, or I'm sorry, the G3 at 77 to 83, they were not close. And I really can't unsee that. Now, the 83-inch G3, if you're coming from a smaller OLED, you're gonna love it. It's a great TV, it's a great OLED. But not if I know the 77-inch is better in any way. It just makes it very hard. It would have been hard for me to buy a Z3 without MLA FOMO if it was the same price, because
Right.
I know so I guess my point is getting an XR clear is the thing I needed on this TV to make it attractive to me.
That makes sense because it's always a balance of waiting and getting the TV you want. And Robert, I see your super chat, but I cannot seem to find your question
Thank you, Robert.
inside the super chat. So if you have a question, try asking again and we'll find it. Otherwise, thank you for that super chat. And Francisco, thank you for the super chat. If you have a question, let us know and we'll try to find it and catch it real quick. And let's see.
Michael Foster,
And
how am I wrong about this? And I didn't say anything about the processing on the Panasonic. Michael
yeah, we don't
Foster,
know
Brian, you're
about
wrong.
that.
How am I wrong? I didn't see it. I haven't said anything about their processing.
Yeah, so for those of you who are wondering what our thoughts are on the Panasonic, other than reading
know.
other people's reviews, we have not seen the Panasonic. We have no access to it in the USA. All we could do is say, well, apparently people are impressed by it, the reviewers that have seen it, but
Yeah.
we don't have an opinion on the latest
And
Panasonic.
I never said that
It's so hard.
that
Yeah.
Sony's processing was better. I never commented on it. I've never seen it. Let's say right now, the last Panasonic I saw was in Robert's store. That was the year the A9G was out, and I thought it beat it. So I think Panasonic's processing is great. However, you can't win if you don't play. If you're not going to be in these areas, I can't do anything about that.
And Vinsanity says, are firmware updates advantageous for the consumers or are they disadvantageous? So this is kind of like a large question. More often than not, they're advantageous. And this is why. TCL, Hisense, Sony, Samsung, LG, oftentimes they add features later that they promised at the time of launch. Like Sony, hey, we're going to have 4K 120 Dolby Vision, but it's coming. It's not going to come at launch. So if that's important to you, then of course, if you don't do your firmware update, you don't get Dolby Vision gaming at 4K 120 on the A95L or Samsung Q90R.
Yeah.
Finally, years later, they added eARC support, or the S95B. When it launched, people were complaining, oh, it's too bright. Fine. You don't like it bright? We dimmed it down for you. And then people started complaining it was too dim.
You want it more accurate? Yeah, they
there
saw.
You go. I stick it to you, right?
You guys are too sad. First of all, so real quick, we have how many we have in the chat? We have 351. Let's loosen up.
You guys are awesome.
Let's loosen up tonight. I'm getting too serious. I'm talking too much, but let's loosen up. The key thing with our stream tonight is the journey FOMO from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Why we choose what we choose. As I mentioned to many of you last year, the S95B blew us away. By the end of the year, the C2 was our most recommended TV. So it really is a journey throughout the year. That's why when you see reviews, they're stuck in time. That's why we have these streams to tell you all year long how we changed. I would never have bought an A80L. I just told you I didn't want to review it. It was right next to me. And I was like, nah. Robert's like, it's right here, Brian. I'm like, and I called FOMO on the way home. There he is. The man.
You mentioned Robert, and I know I hear you. You're calling Robert saying, which one should I buy, Robert? And you
Robert,
went from the A95L, and then you went to the X95L, and then the Q95C, and then back to the A95L, and then unbeknownst to all of us, like, Robert, I want to get the 83-inch A80L. So Robert, this is what you do for a living. You're helping your customers like Brian navigate what TV to get, because ultimately it's less about, oh, it's $200 cheaper or whatever. It's about what fits me. So welcome, everyone. If you guys don't know, this is Robert Zone of Value Electronics.
How do you not know Robert
organized the TV shootout last month. It was amazing. And he's the man with the plan. What was your plan for Brian and customers in general when they call you and say, Robert, here's my money, but what TV do you recommend? Like, how do you navigate that?
Well, we have to interview each customer and determine their environment in the room. We have to review the type of content that they watch. And then, because each use case requires a different recommended TV. Some people are in very bright environments and they can't control the lighting. Some people are more focused on gaming, or some people do a lot of streaming. Some people have mostly Blu-ray discs. We have to go through an interview process to really match the right TV for their particular use case. Sony is a very good choice for everybody, primarily because of that world-class XR processor. That is crazy good for upscaling, low resolution, as well as streamed content, which is very heavily compressed. Netflix is compressed to 10 megabits per second. So it's giving you 4K compressed to hell, excuse my bad language. And Sony cleans that up like no other company can. So I have no personal agenda. We're factory direct authorized dealers for every brand, including Hisense and other brands outside of the tier 1 category. So I have no personal agenda. This is my lifetime hobby and career, and I like sharing it and pairing up the best TV for each person's budget and use case. That means the size of the TV, the technology of emissive or transmissive display, and the type of content, again, that they watch. So it may not be that A80L or A95L is the right TV for everybody. It is the right TV for most people, though.
So, Robert, you look good, baby. Good to see you. Robert, the journey we had this year, from before last year, we talked about, QD OLED, and you and I were like, oh, they just get bigger. Because Robert and I both know we can't go down in size. I believe, Robert, I think your home TV is still an 83-inch A90J.
That's correct.
Outside of the theater. So I know from our friendship in 2 theaters, being around each other, if that TV comes down and something that same size or bigger goes up, that's also what I may do. But Robert, walk me through the day I was there. And I was there twice. The A80L was actually still in the box. And I was there filming, I think it was the G3, G2 77 versus 83. And Robert said to me, well, I have the 83 here in the box. I said, Robert, I said, well, nobody's really interested in that this year. You said, are you sure? I know we were rushed for time. And then, Robert, I showed up to shoot the X95. And while I was shooting the X95, Wendy and Leanne had set up the A80L to my right. And Robert, I couldn't take my eyes off it. So tell me a little bit about when you were in the store, you did notice a difference with the A80L and the micro contrast with the XR.
Right. So the XR processor has always been world-class. Every professional reviewer unanimously agrees. This is a big upgrade year with XR Clear, which focuses on low bit rate, low resolution, and compressed video to send more processing power to it to make it look like native 4K HDR. And they're very, very good at it, extremely good at it. They also added another advancement, and that's called the XR contrast enhancer. And that follows the EOTF very accurately. It also enhances the contrast, so you see more depth and detail in the image. These are 2 big advantages in the already world-class XR processor. So my hat's off to them. They also did some really great, they worked with the audio engineers together to give great enhancements in synergies, in ease of operation and performance when you pair it up with any of their audio receivers or their sound bars. And to celebrate that, we put up some very aggressive launch promotions that bundle those products together with some special exclusive extra discounts.
Yep, I have, and I think you just sent me some of those bundles. We're going to share it in a second. Let me hit a few super chats for us real quick. Thank you, Zona Wolf, for the super chat. I have the 83-inch A90J, but PC gaming on it lacks since DLSS 3 screen tears. Does the 83-inch C3 or 83-inch S90C work for DLS? S3 frame generation. Which one is better? So I'm going to definitely have to defer this to you, Brian, because you're a PC gamer. You know about the latest on the DLSS 3, screen tearing, all of that. And you also game on these type of TVs. Is this a consideration? What are your thoughts on screen tearing and the A80L? Did you even think about that when you chose the A80L 83-inch?
Not so much, because with PC gaming, even with G-Sync, which we don't have the modular anymore, we still have G-Sync compatibility, FreeSync Premium compatibility. With a PC and a TV of that size, you'll still have tearing on everything to some degree. You may have to add V-Sync somewhere in your control panel of your NVIDIA or your AMD card. It might be passive or active. You have to still have some kind of V-Sync. It's not magic. So VRR, in terms of the A90J, my C1 still tears with having G-Sync. So it's not really a DLSS 3 situation. I have that on my graphics card having a 4090. It's just something that happens still with TVs. You'll still need to have some kind of V-Sync enabled to counteract that. So if it happens on the C1 is what I'm saying. The C1 has G-Sync and it still happens, which is in NVIDIA. It doesn't have the modular. I don't believe the C1 had that.
The module, the G-Sync, right. Yeah.
I mean, so my point is, with all of these TVs, chasing VRR, FreeSync Premium Enhanced versus G-Sync, it really is a baseline VRR that you need, and you'll be covered. So you'll still have some tearing on TVs, unfortunately.
And for PC gamers, when you're on the cutting edge, you guys are all beta testers, essentially.
We really are. I mean, 144 hertz is a good example. That's not something that I would chase now. It's a great thing to add. But as PC gamers, I mean, really, you're going to have some kind of V-Sync anyway. Even if you're moving too quickly, it'll tear.
Yeah.
So it's all about the timing, and just TVs are amazing now. They're still not the optimum way to latency wise compared to monitors, because they still look good. Unfortunately, monitors strip all that stuff away. Go ahead.
No, keep it. Finish your thought.
No, I'm just saying, so you're still having these new TVs each and every year are better. I didn't have a problem with screen tearing on the A80L with my PC. So I highly doubt, or A80J, I should say. So it really is into adding some V-Sync in your options.
And my angle is, TV makers are working so hard just to tone map TV content, by the way. When you have NVIDIA, who is not just releasing a new graphics card every year, but their firmware is adding a new feature every 3 months, the TV makers cannot keep up. I mean, monitors cannot keep up. Your TV will be always about 2 years behind the best GPU with the best features. And you have to accept that. The TVs, if it doesn't work perfectly with your PC gaming, that's just what it is. Your TVs are not going to catch up that 2-year difference of technology anytime soon. So you'll just have to be patient. And this takes us to Joe's question real quick. He's coming from a Samsung QN94A. He wants to be a great gaming TV, 55-inch. I would say S90C, call it a day.
Yes.
Brian, Robert, what are your thoughts on the best gaming TV at 55 inches?
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, I love the value of the S90C. That thing is priced really aggressively right now. So price, performance, and gaming features, the S90C is an excellent choice.
Sam, what I love about the S90C and LG to a lesser extent, and it's probably a weakness of Sony, at least with not the A95L. The A95L does have 3 different presets for gaming.
Yes.
If there's a weakness that the A80L has, or any of the other Sony TVs, is you are locked into game mode. Yes. And it does look a certain way. Yes. Why I chose the A80L in this regard versus the other LEDs in the lineup is it looks amazing as is. So live color, those features are enabled. They just don't change as much as they do in the other presets. Dynamic tone mapping, as far as gradient preferred or brightness, doesn't change much in gaming. It changes a lot in regular content. So they're still concerned about latency. So if you want your image to look very different, Samsung has 6 different presets. LG, I believe, has 3 now. So they do have what I call flexibility of image. And I think that's super important in gaming. Is if you want a game to look super cartoony, Samsung has got you, same with LG. But Samsung definitely pulled ahead in that regard.
And I love this super chat from Demetrius. It serves two purposes. We'll start with purpose number one. Actually, the best deal in town. Hey guys, 65-inch A80L or S95C at around the same price. Mainly streaming movies and some gaming on the PS5. Or the 77-inch S90C for the extra $600, 6 to 7 foot distance. So I totally want to address this. If you're sitting 6 to 7 feet, that 77-inch S90C is the best gaming TV you're going to get for the PS5. It is vibrant, SDR, HDR. It is going to be so good from 7 feet away, even 6 feet away. The immersion, this is what we're talking about for gamers. And even though it's $600 more, that extra immersion, you cannot replace it by anything other than size. And it's OLED and it's infinite contrast. And you're going to notice all the contrasts. Oh, God, I love this question because the 77-inch S90C is such a good gaming experience. Now, the A80L, also a good TV, but it's at 65 inches. Well, I don't know. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts, Brian and Robert?
Well, I'll go, Robert, because I already know what you're going to say. Because Robert and I are size guys. So as good as the A80L is, again, that's an A80L going against a QD OLED at the same size is hard. It is a WRGB OLED. Again, if he said no gaming, I would steer him back to the A80L because of the XR clear. But the size, now we always say size beats quality as long as the size is of high quality. And the S90C is of very high quality.
Yes.
And that size is just way too. If it was 75 versus 77, then we might have a conversation. But for the value to get that much more TV, I'd have to go with the S90 in that scenario.
And this will allow us to segue to Robert as we finish off this question about value. You like that? You like how I did that? The A80L. So this is what Robert has offered.
You're hired.
To our viewers, right? Because I had Robert email it to me just now, and that's why I was busy trying to type this into my spreadsheet. Did the math real quick. Hopefully your math isn't off. Otherwise, Robert's giving away half the stuff for much less. Than
I'm losing money.
Okay, so these are the deals that he has, and this is what makes it. This is why I like what Robert did. It gives him a step up above the big box stores. So correct me if I'm wrong, Robert. I'll make the corrections. But the deal right now is the 83-inch A80L that Brian has all the way down to 55. These are the prices. Now, these prices are very similar to what you'll see at Best Buy and other authorized retailers. But then what Robert is throwing on top of that is 5% store credit to get one of these additional accessories. The HTA9 is discounted to $13.99. Then you add the 5% credit. And so let's say if you get the 83-inch A80L with the 5% credit and the discounted HTA9, now it ends up being $11.74. And then the math goes down to the 55-inch A80L. And again, Robert, double check my math because we're going to make sure that this is right before it's all done. But for me, the exciting part is actually the latest AVRs, the AZ7000 down to the AZ1000. Sony takes a long time to update their high-end AVRs, their processors. It's because they build it to last the next 5 years, right? It's less about the features and more about this thing's got to last. So the 7000 is their flagship and the 1000 their entry-level ES model. But I think if you're planning to get a large TV, the 8380L, at least try to get it packaged with the HTA9. And that's what Brian has over there. Brian has that exact package. So first, Robert, are these prices correct? Are these the deals that we're expecting throughout the month? Or do you think it could get better? Share with us. What are you doing for the gang here?
Very good. Thank you. I'm at someone else's desk and I don't have a calculator. It appears fine.
Don't screenshot it.
Yeah. I may have emailed you a more recent update, possibly, if you have time to look in your emails.
I haven't.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I gave it to Brian also. And one thing I wanted to ask about regarding the gaming, the Sony engineers, Rob Brennan and the senior top engineers, tell me they built extra features and synergies when you pair it up with a PlayStation 5. Have you noticed that, Brian? Have you tried that? And maybe I should put you in touch with these engineers for them to tell you some of the extra benefits that they put into when you have a PS5 connected to any one of these 2023 OLED TVs.
They just play much nicer together as far as like an auto HDR option. There isn't, you don't have to recalibrate the TV or and the PlayStation 5 every 5 seconds. It kind of does that automatically. I know some of the updates, Robert, are still on their way, especially for the A95L, which would be the shrinking of the screen, being able to do side by side, which the A95L is going to have. But for the most part, they just plays nicer than it did with previous generations. Primarily, a lot of the auto low latency mode is faster now. It gets it going, and you can have a better auto HCR um, automatic, and it does work better. So that to me is definitely they're just better, as you said, synergy. They're just better aligned now than they used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be where it would always kick you out, and you had to always redo the HDMI. It's less of that now.
Yeah. And the other benefits, which I think you've already kind of reviewed, is the picture quality is so stunning and the motion resolution is so real and true. So even for gaming, that comes into a nice effect of you enjoying a more immersive and a more detailed image with better motion resolution.
Well, and yeah, and their game mode is beautiful. I just think when I talked to Rob and Sony's team, it was really more about giving more game mode options, which they've done with the A95L. And the A95L will also give you the ability to have Dolby Vision and game mode enabled at the same time, which again isn't really super important to me. And that's what I kind of want to talk about in this video was that all the features we chase, and Robert knows I make him crazy with this. Hey, Robert, I'm going after the QN95C. Okay, cool. They got 144 hertz. He's like, all right, cool. We had that set aside. The TV's been there for, months. And then, well, I know, Robert, the UX, I love in the UX. Well, I love the UX too. And this turns into what we're saying, FOMO, with, and I want you to speak on this for me, Robert, too, is I love the UX. I love the sound capabilities of it.
Yes.
However, having the HTA9 already, and I had that paired with my other TVs, and I had it here with a Hisense. It's still great, even if it's not paired with a Sony TV. But that ecosystem is just very hard to deny. So with the UX, I would have had to disable the sound to use the HTA9. And what I love, and I want you to expand on this for me, Robert, was there's an ability to hook up, wireless soundbars. There's an ability to go from an HTA9 to a full receiver. And even the A80L has the binding posts if I want to attach a center channel. I'm not sure I would do that. I'm afraid of what it would do to the TV. But Sony's ecosystem is not just, again, market speak. It's legit. So when you talk about these store credits, you really are getting a complete surround system. But what I love about Sony is that sound capabilities alone on the A80L are excellent. But if you can get, being out of New York with the taxes and this credit, you really get a big chunk out of a complete system. So for me to have the A80L here, Robert, with the surround sound, I'm done. I don't need anything else. And that's what's so important. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen the difference between the ecosystem with the surround sound and sound bars and receivers.
Well, I'm very proud that the software engineers, the video engineers, and the audio engineers work together to develop these new soundbar features as well as all the audio receivers. So there are some very, very good performance enhancements and ease of use and integration capabilities that are very, very special. So this is the first time it really does pay to consider pairing it with a Sony designed audio upgrade. And I know I'm going back a little bit, but I just wanted to add something. I'm factory direct with all these companies, including Panasonic. And Panasonic selected us for their exclusive consumer distributor for their OLED TVs that they sold only to Hollywood studios.
They were awesome.
They were. And every time I speak to Panasonic executives, and I go all the way up to the president of the company, I ask them to please bring them back into the US. They're tired of asking me, and they no longer sell them to studios as well. But regarding the UB820 and UB9000, the HDR optimizer, it's related to tone mapping, but it doesn't really do the tone mapping. What the optimizer does is it redoes the EOTF PQ curve to match the peak lumens capabilities of whatever display you're connecting it to. Projector, high resolution, low resolution, high brightness, low brightness, and it matches it so you see all of the dynamic tonal range, all of the color volume and saturation. The TV still does the tone mapping. It just passes off the redoing the EOTF to match the capabilities of the display. And Panasonic has got the UB820 is a great player, as is the 9000 if you wanted to step up.
Well, and you have those other high-end players, Magnetar. Have you liked those players? I see them in the store. I mean, they're pretty amazing.
Yes. But the Magnetar is outstanding for audio, especially. It plays every kind of disc. It's a universal disc player. So it's got the Oppo processing from the Oppo 205.
Oppo, miss you, honey.
Yeah, it has the Oppo 205 video and audio processors, and they put in 2 processors instead of 1. So it really is an upgrade from the Oppo 205 even. So they did a great job with also great build quality. So that's important if you want to play every kind of, it's a universal disc player. It'll play anything.
And well, since Robert, you and Brian both have this TV experience with it, the Z9K, I want to get to Kim's super chat real quick.
Yes.
She's coming from a Z9K 75-inch and would like to, should she upgrade to an A95L 77-inch? Is it worth it? And generally, having seen the Z9K at the 8K shootout, I'd say yes, 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 all day long, because I appreciate the contrast and all that stuff. But then again, that's my opinion. I'm an OLED guy. Robert, how do you answer Kim? If you sold her the Z9K 75-inch, what are your thoughts on her considering 77? What improvements should she expect?
So again, depends a little bit on the use case. If your ambient light in the room is moderate to low, then the A95L is a better choice. If you have a high ambient light viewing experience where you use it in the daytime and you can't pull window treatments, then the Z9K would be a better choice. I do love the Z9K. And of course, I love the A95L. So you're talking about like the 2 best TVs in the industry, and there are no bad choices. So it kind of depends a little bit on the use case. The A95L does have a different XR processor than all the other TVs. So other than the upgrades that they've added to the A80L, the A95L, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, has more memory, which gave them the ability to write new algorithms that are much more detailed and larger. So the A95L has a really great processor upgrade this year. I don't know how much I'm allowed to disclose because I work with Sony. I'm on their dealer.
Oh, you know what? No one's watching except 375 people are listening, and they're not going to tell their friends, right?
So what's funny though, Robert, is that, you know, Robert was also there when I was filming the A95L, and I filmed 2 of them. I filmed the winner, the actual winner,
yes,
of the shootout, and then there was the one on the wall. What I loved about the A95L was it was the first time filming a Sony TV where I really didn't need to wander out of a calibrated setting.
I know.
It was so punchy that I was like, damn, you know, I went into standard and I was like, it's a little too hot for me. So I thought the vibrancy was immediate, but then the UI was something that was definitely a sneak peek into what they're going to do for 2024, Robert.
Yes,
the tiling, the everything, it had a better a better suggestion or example of what the TV does with each preset. The pictures were cleaner. I just thought it was a really good jump to what they were going into.
People wanted to see your face, Brian. So
terrible. Got some lag going. I didn't like seeing my face like that. I gotta stop taking showers before these streams.
Shahid has a great question because relating to A95L, because we're talking about use cases, right? And there we go. If I do 8 to 10 hour gaming sessions a night, 3 to 4 times a week, would the A95L be okay, or should I stick to mini LED TV? My opinion, Shahid, is that 8 to 10 hour gaming session, not an issue on the A95L. In my opinion, they got the heatsink. I think it's fine. you're watching other things as well. But the TVs now, they do their pixel refresh. Just keep it plugged in. When you
Yes.
turn off your TV, keep it plugged into the wall so that it's powered, even though quote unquote it's off, so that it could do its pixel refresh. But then I'm a high risk kind of guy, so. Brian and Robert, what's your opinion on that?
You're like a skydiver.
Shaheen
I'm a high risk kind of guy,
hunting me
baby.
down.
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, Shaheen, also depends upon whether you're using a PS5 or not. If you're using a PS5, you want the A95L. That's a very good solution.
Good marriage to it.
And again, you're going to have exceptional picture quality and performance. So, if it's an A95L, get the if it's a PS5, get the A95L. The only problem is that you'll never want to leave your house again, and you'll be gaming a lot more.
You're gonna need a new career. My thing on burn-in now, is it still a fear? Yes. Is it something? I think you guys have to understand the difference between image retention and burn-in. TVs all have image retention. If something hits my C1 quick, there'll be the image there for a second.
Yes.
As long as you said keep it plugged into the wall, let the pixels cycle. But more importantly, changing up your content. So what I do, if you're going to game, this is my advice to you if you're worried about any OLEDs. And I am going to do a video on this. After your 8 to 10 hours, it's a long time gaming, no judgment. Simply take a demo like what you see behind me, run it for 5 minutes, let those pixels re-hit, then turn it off, and you'll be fine. I do it after every time I game on something like Call of Duty, because if that TV only sees that one game, for instance, say it's a dedicated gaming TV, and you play Call of Duty only, that means when you turn it off and you turn it back on, you're not changing those pixels into any other HUD. So simply go into a demo, let it run for 5 minutes, and you'll be absolutely fine. You won't have burn-in. I can almost guarantee you won't. No, you'll get struck by lightning, but you'll have no burn-in. FOMO covers face.
Okay, next question. Zona Wolf asks, and I think this is more for you guys, Brian, 83-inch C3 or 83-inch S90C, better than the A90J for gaming?
Yes.
I mean, I like newer TVs in general, but is it better?
Yes. I mean, the A90J was fantastic.
Right.
But the A90J is older at this point.
That's right.
I mean, so it's a master series. It was ahead of its time. It's a bit brighter, but as Rob Brennan said, the A80K had caught it. The C2 had caught it.
Yes.
What made Sony special this year is the processing is another leap. So all the factories, all the companies other than Panasonic, which I have not seen, are now a step back in terms of processing. For gaming, is this for gaming? For gaming, that processing is less effective anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the C3 and the S90C are brand new TVs. QD OLED. Well, no, not for that's a WRGB low LED. I would still have to go with the C3. I cannot recommend the S90C. I've never seen it. Yeah. And it has not been marketed properly. So I don't know if it's got the same gaming features, Robert. I don't know if it's got the same game bar. I haven't seen it. So I know that we don't love that it was labeled S90C. I think it should have been labeled something else.
Yes.
To delineate it. But I would go with, in your conversation, I would go with the C3. A90J Master Series is still a beautiful TV. Clearly, I bought the A80L because I love the chassis, but it's just an older TV at this point.
Right.
Robert?
And thank you. And I would go with the 83C3 as well. A couple of things about the 83S90C. It's an LG display WRGB. It is not a QD OLED.
Nope.
Only the 77, 65, and 55 are. The 83-inch is a WRGB, just like the C3.
Yep.
But I would take the C3. The other thing about the S90C, it's got a very, excuse me, I'm sorry, but a low grade chassis frame. I really don't like that. It's the same as the S95B that they had last year, which had so many complaints and bent frames, and it's also a little bit dimmer than the S95C. So the 83 S90C has the same exact LG WRGB panel as the 83 C3, but I think the 83 C3 would be a better choice, and it is better than the A90J. So here I am, not recommending a Sony.
Yep. You got it down.
Well, speaking of recommendations, thank you, Bobby Kai, for this super chat. He needs a 55-inch coming from a C10, which was a pretty good OLED TV back in its day. 85% gaming, 15% streaming, mostly Voodoo,
Oh,
sitting 4
A95L.
feet away.
Don't even finish the don't even finish the question.
Money's not a factor.
A95L.
A95L S90C. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
A95L. And any differences of opinion besides the A95L?
Well, I'll say that with the CX, for me, the CX was an interesting step. You know, Robert, I had that TV too.
Mhm.
They went from a very punchy C9, and I think they were trying to control burn-in a little bit. The CX was a little bit of a transition for them to be more accurate, like Sony.
Yes.
And then they returned the punchiness, I think, with the C1 and the C2 and obviously the C3. But any of those TVs would be an upgrade over the CX again because it's rather old. But the A95L for streaming, especially, to me, it's far and away better than the other, especially now the G3 would be second. The S90, I think, is a step back from the S95C a little bit.
Yeah.
I go A95L for that if money's no option.
Yes. Thank you. I agree with
All
everything
right.
you said. Thank you.
All right. And our old friend Quack Fu has a question.
Quack,
So
long
you
time no
guys would go 85 mini LED over,
Nope.
say, a 77-inch S90C. Room is bright, late day, pretty much all streaming all the time. 77-inch A80J might become a PC gaming monitor. So I personally, I cannot go with the 85 mini LED. I'd rather go with an 83-inch OLED myself, but it's a bright room. I think the 77-inch S90C is great for a bright room. However, Brian, you had observations about QD-OLED in a bright room. So I want you to share that. I mean, my room could be bright, but I don't have direct sunlight. But Brian, what are your thoughts on Quack Fu debating between 85-inch mini LED or the 77-inch S90C?
So then the 85 is another massive jump in size. So again, he's in a bright room. Why I can't recommend the S90C is the QD OLED from Samsung has a different coating than the Sony TV does.
Right.
So Rob had told me, and I know Robert, you said this to me earlier as well, is all they supply, Samsung supplies Sony with is the film, the small part. What they do with the chassis and the body is on the manufacturer. So we talk about how much more expensive Sony is. Not only is it the sound and the build quality, the reflection handling is better, but without, I don't know if what's it missing, FOMO? Is it missing the, not optimizer? What's the name of it? The name of the
Which
part
one?
of the screen for the QD OLED, that thing that's missing.
Oh, polarizer. It
The
doesn't have a
polarizer.
polarizer. Right.
So if the sun hits it just right. Now in Value Electronics, Robert is in the front of the store now. There's a huge window in front of him. To his right, we'll have to do a tour, Robert, so I can show everybody. To his right is the same size window. Above him is a massive, beautiful skylight.
Yes.
Now, FOMO and I had the S95C go against the G3 in the sun, no problems. When I had the S95C, just one day, Robert, I walked in, the sun hit it just right. And as long as when the sun hits the screen directly, it creates a jagged look. It looks like a fracture. That's what it does with the light. And I cannot recommend that in direct sunlight. So if it's bright, the Sony would be a better choice QD OLED wise, but I would still go with the mini LED, especially for the size. But I cannot recommend a Samsung QD OLED in that environment.
Yeah. And may I just add, the dream TV for you, for your exact use,
Dream.
is the 85-inch X95L. Again, another decision that if you buy that TV, you'll never leave your house again. You will be in love forever with the video and gaming and picture quality. For
And Quack
your
Flu, you can get the center channel with that too.
Yes, you can. X95L, that's your TV.
That's a good TV
And
too.
here's a great question that I know Brian loves to answer. So I'm going to start off first and let Brian
Oh,
rant
you're
after
trying
it.
to set me up with
W
this.
says 77-inch S90C
Yes.
versus, and so everyone knows, the 77-inch S90C is my editor's choice TV,
Yes.
mostly because it's amazing with everything and it's a great gaming TV, versus the A80L, which Brian loves as the 83-inch great gaming TV, versus the G3. So the G3 at 77-inch size has MLA for accurate. Okay, so this is the key. All caps, accurate HDR gaming, not blowing out the highlights and streaming movies. So right there, when I hear accurate, I just think of this lecture I heard from Professor Classy about the importance of HGIG and accurate tone mapping, even if it doesn't look great to you. Apparently, that's what the creator
If
wanted.
it looks like crap, that's what you got to go with.
So, I mean, all I can say is G3 actually has the label HGIG.
Yes.
Technically, if the game is true to HGIG workflow and it has its HGIG thing happening correctly, then the G3 set in HGIG should be an accurate match to the game. Now, that aside, that what you want for those few games that do HGIG well, the G3 is the way to go. But since I'm not that kind of a gamer, I'm still going to go with S90C because it does have an HGIG mode, which is its static HDR. And I think it's close enough that, you know what? But see, I didn't capitalize accurate. So for me, accurate is in all small caps. That's why the S90C is for me. Brian, what are your thoughts? You've been struggling with this all year because you keep on getting comments telling you how to game.
I love this conversation. And Robert, this is where, you and I talk about director's intent. Yes. Right? So when the director intends something on a film, that is a very finite thing. That film is done. It is made to be shot this way and it's finished. And you can change it. You can put it on dynamic, standard, whatever you want. That's your movie to watch. Gaming, especially our friend that does Marcus that does HDR optimization for gaming.
The Gaming Tech.
Awesome channel. What kills him is that the director of the game doesn't know how to implement HDR properly.
That's right.
They're still tacking it on. So what you want to say is if there is raised HDR, which is in probably 95% of games, it is up to you to crush the image or change the image to make it better. So what I'm trying to say to you is that you're trying to chase the director's intent, but the director doesn't know what they want to do with HDR. And they can change it on the fly. A movie, no one's updating your latest Mission Impossible to look different in HDR. So accurate gaming, they're still struggling with how to even implement HDR. So is PC. So are these different consoles. So chasing accurate gaming is kind of a misnomer simply because they don't know what they're really doing with it yet. It's still something they're being forced to add. Auto HDR on Microsoft, that'll change what your TV does. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to say, turn off the dynamic tone. So for instance, you can say turn off dynamic tone mapping on all of it, let the TV do it, let the player do it. You're never really going to find what the accurate recipe is because they're not being made that way. Almost every game, Callisto Protocol, Cyberpunk, they all had raised HDR. Recently, what game had that problem where it was unplayable? So it's really hard to go with the director's intent of a game versus, say, a film or a show.
Yeah. And I'll just add, please, that if value is important, definitely the S90C is the price performance choice. Not blowing out highlights and streaming in movies, it's the A80L. I like the G3 though as well. And yeah, and if you're wall mounting it, it's elegant, it's minimalist and modern. It almost looks sexy up on the wall.
Robbie loves a sec. Well, and I'll tell you this for gaming, the A80L doesn't beat any of these TVs in gaming. That's specifically. Right. Is the gaming good enough is really the question. And that's the question. And yes, it's good enough in terms of its picture quality is good enough. So for me, if performance is important to you, if performance, they all perform the same. Input lag is minimal at this point on any modern TV. Pixel response on OLEDs is instantaneous anyway. But it's features you should be asking yourself about. If you want more gaming presets, G3, Samsung, those are the way to go. The question is A80L good enough? And it is.
Yes.
It's not going to be better in terms of options as far as the different. It's just that's not its strength, but it does it well enough.
And so we have a super chat from Latin Gringo.
You still didn't ask a question though.
And we're still waiting for his question. So
Gringo, you got to say something with it, my friend.
Yes, let us know what your question is, and we'll get back to you. Or if someone found his question, please share. Let me know. But Jimmy Meters the second has a question. Thank you for that super chat. For FOMO reviews, the U8K are focused on 55 or 65-inch versions. So that's what I've been focusing on. For the 85 to 100, is there anything missing? Fewer dimming zones, lower brightness, coming from the 65-inch Samsung KS8000. Big improvement.
Great TV.
So I'll start by telling you this. Let me drop Brian down so he can go to the restroom. So
Actually, I'm gonna go.
No, okay. So the biggest jump is you're going to go to an ADS panel at the larger sizes, right? And the ADS Pro panel on the Hisense are great. You're going to get actually better image quality off angle for sure. Better color saturation, better off angle viewing, deeper blacks. I think it's a plus at the larger sizes. What I don't know, however, is the 100-inch size. How much better, or is it as good, or maybe it's slightly worse? We really don't know, but I'll tell you this. Generally speaking, coming from an older Samsung, the KS8000, you're going to get way better HDR, like way better, because you'll have the dynamic range of high specular highlights. The Hisense U8K has now spent 3-4 generations focusing on blooming control and specular highlights. I think they nailed it this year. So even at 100-inch, if it's slightly less bright, it is more likely than not brighter than your KS8000, because the mini LED allows the 100-inch to hit brightness levels at a lower energy level. So that allows it to happen. So my opinion is go for it, because I think it's definitely an upgrade. But Brian's had experience with the older Samsungs. Brian, what are your thoughts?
What was your answer to his question, real quick?
My answer is I think it's better. Even at 85 and 100-inch, the ADS Pro panels are better than the VA panel.
Yeah.
His
the
Samsung
KSC.
KS8000, yeah, it's a VA panel. It's not going to look great off angle.
Yeah.
Its contrast is going to be worse. It's just, it doesn't have dimming zones. I think for HDR, the U8K at all sizes will still be an improvement.
Well, the KS8000 was full array. No, wait. Was it full?
I don't
No, it
think-
was edge-lit.
It was
It was,
edge-lit.
yeah. But Robert, do you remember the KS8000 and not a KS9000? They didn't even have blooming. They had like a column.
Yes.
Remember, it would light up a whole side of a screen.
Yes.
So, Jimmy, I mean, any full array local dimming would have been an improvement over the KS8000. KS8000 was very bright, very vibrant. It was a very good value for the time,
Mhm.
but it was very flawed because HDR was just finding its way. So I think you'd be very pleased. And as bright as you think the KS8000 is, a lot of these TVs are as bright, but it's really the contrast ratio you'll appreciate with the local dimming. You'd have to go. What is he saying? Oh, you want to go up to what, the 85 or the 100-inch?
Yeah, he wants to know if going larger drops the image quality relative to the smaller ones. And what I've seen is that larger one actually has better image quality on the
It all-
Sonys, on the Hisenses. So I think the trend is good to go larger.
Well, going larger, I think, Robert, we've talked about that with more dimming zones. The TVs will always appear brighter or be brighter.
Yes.
However, I would caution going from 65 all the way to 100, because it's going to feel soft to you jumping that much. I mean, there's no way. You're basically going from like a monitor to a projector. So I would stop at 85 if I were you. I just think you might find the image a little soft. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Robert, jump to
All right.
100.
Well, I'm all
I
about
would say jump to 100. That's me.
Dude, Robert FOMO has now become the size guy. He wants
Even though I don't
100-inch
have a
TVs for
100-inch,
everybody.
well, I have a 100-inch ultra short throw, and I'm loving the size, but the image quality, it's like a weak SDR. But
I will say the U8K and 85 does look a little cleaner and sharper than the 100-inch U8K. But the 100-inch U8K is very good.
You
It's
guys have them
big.
in the store, Robert, now, or no? Or have you shipped them? Do you have any on display?
Everyone I get ships the same day they get here.
I'm trying to film it for these guys, but all right.
Yes. Yes. We're gonna
And
get a
that-
big match soon.
And thank you for your patience, Latin Gringo. We got your super chat. Love you all. We love you too. Compare reflections. Oh, this is good. The anti-glare reflections of the A80L and the G3. Also, is the processing upscaling that different from one another? So I'll answer the processing upscaling. Absolutely.
Yes.
XR Clear makes a difference. But Brian and Robert, you have the A80L and G3 in store. And Brian, you've seen it in your Bright store. Can you comment on that?
Well,
What's that?
they both have glossy screens, reasonably glossy, but I think the probably the anti-glare filtering on the A80L is moderately better. Brian, what's your thought, please?
From the G, I think mine is probably worse. I think the 83 has a completely glossy panel.
Oh, it is.
Um,
It
yeah,
is.
compared to it's basically an A90J.
Yes, that's right.
It reflects them very well, meaning it shows them perfectly. If you want to see yourself in a mirror, I mean, it is an OLED, so they are gonna
Yes.
with OLEDs because the black level turns into a mirror in that environment. I again, it depends on how often you're going to be in the sun, but I would find them comparable to each other, at least for me. The G3 is really more about the design, Robert. If you want that design,
Yes. Yes. And one thing to know about this glossy screen issue is a glossy screen will give you higher contrast and will give you a sharper image, more detailed image. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of value. Respectfully, if it's possible, please control the ambient light. You don't have
Yeah.
to have blackouts, but just lower the window treatments when you're enjoying TV in the daytime.
And Robert, question for you. While Robert is here, what's the rejection rate for the QC quality control service lately? He mentioned it was around 5% a couple of years ago. Is that improving or about the same or worse? Any models or brands that stick out or sizes?
Well, I don't like to single out a brand, but I will say that the A95L, we've calibrated well over 100, and I've rejected maybe 2. So it's a little less than
Ah,
2% reject on A95L, which is the lowest of any TV we've ever QC'd and calibrated. Um, the big bang for the buck with calibration happens with Samsung and LG and the QC as well. It's not as big a deal when you're
Robert, I have a question. The A80L, the one I have behind me, the 83, is very clean.
yes.
But the A90Js were also very clean. Can you tell me a little bit? Do you think the A90J? I don't remember the A90Js having a lot of banding issues at 83 from the ones we saw in the store.
That's
I
right.
do feel this one is a much cleaner than my LGs. Do you think that there is an extra QC or because it has the Master Series chassis? Any of that you think matters or no? Or
Yes, it
just
does.
Sony?
Sony does a great job of QCing all of their products, especially Master Series models. So that's why our reject rate is much lower. They come out of the box really nice.
And for you guys, I don't run slides on my TVs unless I
That's
see
good.
something wrong. And why I say that is if you want to look for banding on any TV, you will find it. You want to find DSC, they're on every TV. So if it's something that jumps out at me in content, which is most important, I will then check it. What I recommend you all do is let your TV break in for 200 hours if possible.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
especially OLEDs, right, Robert?
Yes.
But if you want to say buy a new TV, and this is I warn you guys about doing this. If you have an issue with a TV, you get into the habit of buying a new one and then right away looking for problems, you are going to find them.
That's right.
It's a screen. If you're somebody who has had issues with large screens, I suffer from this too. You're going to find them. And I said this to FOMO today, as a matter of fact. On my C1, which I love that TV, I was watching Killer. It's a new Netflix show. And even on Deep Dolby Vision, there was a bit of banding on my C1. Same show on the A80L, I did not see it. So that doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's perfect, but I'm suggesting you don't go looking for these issues if they don't leap out at you because you'll make yourself crazy, guys. And believe me, if you
Absolutely.
return one for something small, your next one might not have it, but might have something else worse. And Robert and I both have been on that roller coaster, and it's not good. So
That's
I
right.
wouldn't look for it.
and speaking of things that people don't like, David E has a super chat asking about ASBL. Hi, gang. I'm 90% streaming, and so I want the A95L, but I cannot stand ASBL, and I know it can't be disabled on the A95L. Does the ASBL kick in when it shouldn't be on the A95L? So I'll tell you my experience, David, with sports in Vivid. So Vivid is really bright.
Yes.
Yes, that kicks in hard. But if you go into standard, it starts off dimmer and it stays that way. When I say dimmer, I mean dimmer than Vivid. But if you're streaming normal content, I have not seen ASBL kick in,
That's
only when it's in sports like YouTube TV. The G3, it never kicks in. That thing is just bright, but then the colors are off as a result. They're using
right.
colors that allows it to keep it pumped up.
Yeah.
So if you're watching sports, yes, ASBL will kick in. If you're watching normal content in standard mode, it should be okay. But Robert, I know you've seen these more under pressure. What are your thoughts on the A95L and its ASBL issues?
Well, I'm a big fan of the professional picture mode. And
Mhm.
or the cinema mode, and it almost never kicks in. You have to have a full field,
Yes.
bright image for a long period of time, and it will kick in. And
In
it's
standard mode.
in standard mode, and it's there for a reason, to protect the panel.
Yeah.
So
And for you guys too, the A95L, I know Rob Brennan was saying this, and Robert, you've talked about this, is I don't use this feature. But apparently, from what we talked about it, the light sensor from Sony does have a
shut it
feature.
off.
It's really, well, he was saying it's really, so say you have a standard, you have all the processing enabled. It will sense the light in the room. It'll try to make it more accurate. But if you guys have that on, that's going to dim the TV. It's not trying to protect it. It's trying to create a more a
Yes.
better image for your eyes. So for some people, they love it because they just leave the lights where they are and they change them. But if that is on, you will see some extra dimming.
Yes.
But keep in mind, it's there to protect the TV. And if it's a matter of you tapping the remote once to get it go away, I would rather have that and the picture quality than trying to disable it and then have the manufacturers tell me that I'm screwed. So I don't believe in disabling this stuff if it's gonna take away your warranty.
That's correct.
And before we go on, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. We have 400 in chat, or over 400. You guys are awesome. Click like, and let's see if we can break 500. And the only time I've broken 400 is when I have Robert here. So I don't know if it's a connection,
Robert,
but it's like our
see you next Saturday, Robert.
Split, right? Now, speaking of the TVs that you guys see more often than I do, Brian, you have both. Robert, of course, you've had both. Comparing the A80J to A80L, what are the differences, or rather the improvements? Now, I know, Brian, you have the 83-inch with a heatsink. So can you speak to that? And then Robert, the ones without the heatsink, the smaller sizes, can you speak to the differences that you noticed going from the A80J to the A80L?
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, thank you. Well, we do have a new panel this year. It's more energy efficient. It draws less current. It's naturally 15% brighter. And as you said, we have the heatsink on the 83-inch A80L. The processor is the biggest upgrade this year. The XR Clear, the contrast enhancer, they wrote all the programs over again, the firmware. And it's a big upgrade in processing this year over the A80J. So it's a nice upgrade. The panel is upgraded. The processor is upgraded. You will love an A80L. You will see the difference and notice it.
Yeah, and I agree. The A80J, Robert, if we remember, was this really pleasant surprise because I think what's that?
I still have an 83-inch. Yeah.
But remember the A80J though, it came out and they took a nice price drop right in the beginning.
Yes.
And it caught people off guard, and right away, and at the time it was the only 77-inch Sony. Because if you remember, the A90J had a hole in the lineup. It was 55, 65, and 83.
That's right.
So it was Sony's only C-series TV. Everybody gobbled it up. They loved it. The A80K was an incremental upgrade. It was good. I still like the A80K a lot. They're all incremental upgrades at every other year at times. Then you have your big jump. The A80J was not the brightest OLED. I don't think you need bright OLEDs, to be honest. Right. I think we should be done with that at this certain point. But as Robert said, it's really the XR Clear that makes the difference. Now, from what Rob Brennan said to me with the heatsink, the heat pad, whatever it is, it's there to protect the TV. It's driving this larger panel, and that's why it's there. Now, does it mean it's much brighter? I don't know. I have not measured it. It does feel brighter to me, but the 77 inch felt bright enough as far as I'm concerned. So I would chase the 83 because it's the best 83-inch out there, and because it has XR Clear.
Yes.
And look, having a feature like the heatsink, Robert, even if it doesn't do anything, we know we like having these things there.
Yes.
And I selfishly like the A90J chassis, so I chased it for those reasons. But the XR Clear should be what you're chasing.
Yes, and also has the contrast enhancer, which is another upgrade. Yeah, but the heat sink really helps the longevity. Heat is one of the enemies of electronics.
Yes.
Water number one, heat number two. So by cooling the panel, it'll actually make it last longer. Yeah. So you'll have a longer lifespan.
Well, Robert, for you, what are you seeing with this year, what was the big? Did you have a lot of people saying, "I'm going to wait for an A95L," or are you? So, what are you seeing for the biggest sales this year? What's getting bought the most? You think that's moving quickest?
Well, what probably sells best for us may not be what the industry is doing, but the A95L is our #1 unit selling item.
By a
And
good margin?
that's because we specialize. All the geeky nerds like me like to talk
Us. Well, and Robert, and I know you're a diamond dealer for Sony, but LG's name for the kind of dealer you are is what? Is it premium? You're also the
No,
high
I'm the highest end for
LG as
Samsung,
well.
LG, and Sony.
So everyone says, well, Robert's a diamond dealer.
I am,
Yes.
and that's the highest level. But
he's
for
been
LG, I'm the highest level.
Yeah,
and
so he's
I
maxed
didn't come up with this name. I'm a prestigious pinnacle dealer.
prestige. Hell yeah.
Prestigious pinnacle dealer.
So everyone says, well, he's a diamond dealer. I'm like, yeah, but he's the other deal. I hate saying the word dealer. It sounds like you're Pablo Escobar, but it's a little yayo. But he's the top dealer at the other manufacturers as well. So it's not this favoritism of
For
Sony.
Samsung and LG, because TV and audio and projection systems, that's all we do.
Yeah.
Our little niche in the world is we specialize in those categories only.
Well, if we were talking about projectors, we'd have a JVC conversation, right? So I mean, there's NZ9, so it's not. Or if we were in speakers, it'd be B&W. But as we mentioned, while Robert's here, the shootout was won by LG 5 years in a row.
That's right.
So it's, it really goes into what TVs are doing, what they're doing. So, we'll see who wins next year.
By the way, Samsung won the prior 2 years before that. And we just took over a city block square building. We took over the basement directly across the street from our main showroom. And I divided it into 15 movie theaters.
Nice.
So I have a suite of 15 movie theaters.
So I got to film that for you. I don't know why we're not filming that.
Oh, absolutely. 6 ultra short throw and 9 long throw theaters, all with different theater seats, different audio systems, different projection systems. This is fun.
And I think the Z9K and the 900C are down there too, right? Or are they back in the box?
Yes,
did you put them back out? Okay, I got to film those.
They're out there. Yeah.
And quick question, super chat. Is mini LED fizzling out? Apple's going OLED on iPad. And the answer, Mr. Mystery, is yes, as OLED prices are being driven down. Samsung is the #1 provider of RGB OLED to Apple. And as Samsung becomes more competitive with their yields and their productivity, the price performance ratio of OLED and its efficiency, remember, iPad requires battery to work, which means battery efficiency is important, which means the technology is huge in terms of how much energy it uses. OLED is more efficient than mini LED. Yep. So given that, that's probably why they're going with OLED. Now, the image quality could be similar, but if the differences are minor enough, they will go with a more long-term solution in terms of battery usage and stuff that may have very little to do with image quality, if ultimately the image quality are within a few percentage points of each other. And thank you, M. Wolde. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, and real quick, the new Steam Deck is OLED, and its battery life is, I think, an hour and a half longer. So right there, you just proved your point with the efficiency of OLED.
Yeah. And Wolde, thank you for the super sticker, my friend. He's a regular. He's been with us forever. Chris wants to know, do any of you guys change TVs like underwear? Sell your used TVs. I call dibs. So it goes to the question of, I would never sell my used underwear, and that would be very disturbing if people actually had dibs on it.
He's got Samsung socks, though, if you want them.
I try. Okay. Unlike Robert, who actually stands behind everything he sells with retailer warranties and all these things, when I get rid of my TVs, I never want to see them back. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see people calling me, hey, it arrived broken. I never sell my TVs. I give them away to my close friends and family and tell them, look, if it breaks, throw it away. Yeah. Because I don't want you coming back. I don't want $1. Mostly because it's not, this is what I do, right? It's a business expense. Get the TVs I enjoy. Now, the ones that I keep for myself, I bring it home. The good stuff, right? I put it on the wall, or I save it for a Christmas present or a present for my parents who ultimately didn't want it. Samsung 8K TV. But yeah, so Chris, now if you're local and you're willing to pick it up, but again, I just hate accepting money. On the other hand, this takes us to Robert. What is your return policy, swap policy? Because obviously, like you say, you want to make sure the QC is good, but sometimes they ship directly from the
Right.
manufacturer. How do you deal with complaints of the TV?
Right. So with Samsung and LG, I have an exclusive deal with them. If your TV develops a defect within 90 days, you don't go through repair. You come to me and I'll replace the TV and I'll cover the return shipping on the defective TV. So you have 90 days where I'll swap the TV.
Those are
If-
Costco numbers, by the way. That's a long time.
Yeah.
90 days is a long time.
Yeah. Now, my deal with Sony is 14 days. If you have a
damn.
defect within 14 days, I can swap the TV and I pay for all the shipping on the return of the TV and on the new TV. If you just tell me I want a refund, I don't want to talk about it. I want my money back. I'm going to go to somebody else. We have a 30-day policy and you have to pay the shipping back to us. And we have a 10% restocking fee. And that's within 14 days.
Know what you want. And here's something. This is an ongoing
Getty
saga
G-Man!
with Getty.
What up,
So the story is, he was ready to get an 85-inch TV or A95L, $5,000, close to 5,000, and then we talked him into upgrading his 65-inch U8H to a 100-inch U8K. He got it for $4,000. Then it drops to $3,500, and now it's
he was playing the market. He was like, whoa.
And he's loving it. No, he started at 5,000, it went to 4,000, and now it's at 3,000. So he's $2,000 ahead. He's got it now. I'm loving my 100-inch U8K. My 65-inch U8H is the second TV. Picture quality is even better. So apparently someone did the math and they said the Hisense shared the info. Over 1,600 dimming zones. Density is greater than any other U8K. So I'm really impressed by that. I can't get over the immersion. I'm never going back. So guys,
Awesome.
this
Good
is a
for you,
curse.
bro. I'm happy.
Once you get to 100-inch, you got to stay there. You can't go back. I mean, this is what Brian's going through,
Yeah.
So when you get bigger or go OLED, you cannot go back.
So for Getty G-Man and Robert, I know we talked about this, especially when the X92 came out. So the X92 came out from when I was trying to tell you from the store that it had handles on the back. The thing it's massive. So when you have a TV like that, Getty G-Man, I don't know if your aunt wants to take it from you in 5 years, but I don't know who's taking that. But we were talking about selling the TVs. I don't sell them either. I would either donate or give them away.
Yes.
And I know Robert won't say this for Robert, Wendy, and Leanne. I know that throughout the years, they've given away many TVs to families in need in the areas. So those TVs don't just go to waste. But selling TVs for you guys, Getty G-Man, someone has to then come get it. And then move. Televisions are very delicate. If you think about moving something that heavy, receiver, you put it in the car, projector. TVs, Robert, at a large size, the more you move them, the more trouble you're going to have when they're not in the box. So it's very hard for us to sell them, which is why we tend to give them away. But I know Robert, Wendy, and Leanne do donate a lot of those TVs to families in need. So I really appreciate that you guys do. I know you wouldn't say it. I want to say it for you because I've been there when it happens. And that even go with customers that want to hand TVs down to you guys. You'll give that to an impoverished family in the area. And he's in New York. So it's amazing that he does that.
Yes, we do. So I'm a very soft and easy person, and I care about everybody. So we donate a lot of beautiful TVs to families that can't afford to have a TV. And I'm sorry, I don't like talking about it as well because it sounds like I'm boasting about it.
That's why I said it.
I just think
that's why I said it for you.
I enjoy just being nice and helping. It's a nice way to live your life.
Well, that's why Wendy and Leanne are needed for the store to stay open, right, Robert?
That's right.
All you hear is Robert's like, well, I think I'll just give it to them. No. Oh, I got to charge you. Sorry, I got to charge you today.
And that's speaking of 100-inch TVs, right? This is the thing. Michael Preston asked last week, but I don't know if you saw it. Should I upgrade to a 100-inch Hisense or the Samsung 98-inch, TCL 98-inch, or stay with my 60-inch or 60 optimal 100-inch screen? Definitely, if 100-inch is where you need to be, you got to go to a TV.
I can't believe you. Dude.
Now, if you saw how much Getty loves his TV, right? At $3,000, that's just unbelievable. Blows my mind. However, here's the good news for you, Michael. Your Optima is still working fine. wait for CES 2024 if you don't need to replace it. If you need to replace it, yeah, try to see if you can get that U8K at 100 inches. If not, I guarantee you in 2024, you will see both 100-inch and 110-inch TVs coming. Both Hisense and TCL are testing the market. They're seeing this huge interest for a Hisense U8K, which I think is just an unbelievable deal at $3,000. We're going to see very competitive ones. Now, just so you guys know, the Sony X90L comes in a 98-inch, which
Here
I'm
we
very
go.
excited. Yep. I'm going to be getting that one soon from Robert. And so we're going to review that as well in the context of a renovation. But this is it. This is the big TV world. So I want to ask Robert, are you getting a lot of interest on these bigger sizes? Samsung's
Yeah,
got
he
the
is, because I can't
98-inch.
film them because people keep buying them.
Yes.
Share with us, what are you steering people towards the 98-inch like me? No,
Yes.
drop your 77, go 100. Or are people asking you, Robert, I'm hearing FOMO talk about this 100-inch thing. Is it real?
Well,
Like,
Robert,
how is it
Robert,
happening?
before you even go. So we were at a dinner together, and I said to Wendy, Robert was speaking. I said, "Is the X90L 100-inch in?" She's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Why didn't you call?" "Oh, it's gone." I was like, "Okay, well, I have a chance to film it." And I can't exactly unbox a 100-inch TV and then throw it back in the box. So Robert, we've been waiting for the Hisense 100-inch, and that's been in and then it's sold. So I would say yes, there's an interest in it, but go ahead. Go ahead, because FOMO's now the big size guy.
We're doing a very large volume of Hisense 100-inch, Sony 98-inch X90L. And Brian, I have one here now if you want to get over here quick.
Wait, which one?
I have the 98-inch X90L. We just put it out. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I will see you. You're not working
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh, it's fun as heck. It really
All
is.
right.
Because
I'll be
when
there.
you blow up an image that large, you want that XR clear processor.
Oh, you have it on display?
Yes, we do.
I'll
It
be
is
there
crazy.
Be there in
good.
45 minutes.
Okay, hurry up.
Go have some pizza. Robert, you do ship nationwide. Can you just tell the folks real quick what
That's
you?
right.
So we had a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, so we're authorized from all major brands, e-commerce, to sell nationwide, and we don't collect sales tax, free delivery. So, and with our store credits and other promotions that are exclusive to our company,
If we recommend you as well, right? If we recommend, if you guys say that you saw FOMO or
yes,
us recommend, there's extra bonuses there as well.
yes, indeed. Thank you. Yes, indeed.
All right. And moving from 100-inch size, because we know that's the next big thing.
So a quick joke though with FOMO. Hold on, real quick. So FOMO, when I first met FOMO, everything was 55 and 65, right, Robert? Everything was these little TVs. You got to go small. This year, he's got more people buying 100-inch X9 or 98-inch, and everyone's like, "Hey, I'm looking at a 55-inch OLED." He's like, "You know what you need? You need 100 inches." He doesn't have one, by the way, yet, but it's so funny that he's now the 100-inch guy.
The transformation came when I got a ultra short throw in for review. It was a Paris Rhone, threw out 100-inch, 105-inch on my white wall. And the level of happiness that my family had for that size. So I had an OLED right next to it, and they're like, it's only 65 inches. We need the big TV.
It was the Master
So that's
Series
it.
QD OLED.
They're like, no, we just, so the A95K has been moved into the bedroom now. and in the main room is this very just normal, nothing special, ultra short throw that's very much SDR. The room's dim, right? And it's a blank wall. I don't have a screen. They prefer that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I realized, the 100-inch does make a difference.
Yeah, but he had an A95K Master Series, Robert. It first came out. The brand best TV in the world. He had it on the a stand, and he's like, "Hey, I have it next to this cheaper short throw." They're like, "Get that TV out of here." He's like, "Wait, it's the best in the world." They didn't want to watch it.
That's right.
The wife and kids are like, yeah, but we're not impressed by the size. And so for them, we are so into the HDR, the nits, the windows. I get all of that and I appreciate it. But when it comes to the family, and this is why I'm telling you guys, if it's for you, you guys know what you like, right? I don't have to convince you of anything. But when it comes to the family, and you tell your wife or significant other, do you see the 1% window? They're like, what are you talking about? Take a look at the Dolby Vision. Did you see it's lifted? They're like, what are you talking about? How about the wider color gamut? What about the color luminance? Right? FOMO said this. Like, you got to stop watching that guy because I just
Yeah,
want
it's
a
my
better,
husband.
I just want a better TV. Now,
That's awesome.
now, speaking of the better TV, Matt Lee has a Z9K. Wants to know if the PS5 is good. Is it good for gaming on a PS5 or Xbox? Or he's considering getting a Z9K. And how do you respond, Robert? Because I know your Z9K is on a huge discount. And is it good for PS5 and gaming? And I know, Brian, you've seen it gaming as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Brian should answer this. He knows that better than I do.
He does.
I mean, the Z9K, in my opinion, it's an animal. I mean, it's a beast. It's 4,000 nits. Whether it clips or not, most people aren't going to notice that. As far as gaming on it, you're gaming on it because it's a bright LED. The pixel density may help it to some degree. There's no 8K gaming for it. You're going to game on console. You're not going to need reality creation. The 8K doesn't look good with reality creation because of the pixel density already.
Right.
I wouldn't choose it for gaming. It games very well, if that makes sense. It's been upgraded with a new game bar, if that's important to you, so you're not losing anything there. So my thing for you is if you're interested in the Z9K and you want it, buy it, and it can game very well. I wouldn't buy it for gaming per se, but it can game well. I think Terry somewhere in the comments has it, loves it. I love the Z9K, and if Robert has his still out of the box, I'll compare it to the 900C because a lot of you guys want those TVs. Right. Still a big fan of the Z9K. To me, the X95 is a better Sony mini LED right now simply because of the local dimming and the XR clear, but the Z9K is still the monster of the Sony lineup, Robert.
That's right.
Even in gaming.
And Jack Silva has a great question. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. My 2008 Plasma just died. Finally, right? It took it that long. It's pretty reliable. Buying a 65-inch OLED, streaming movies and TV shows on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, looking at the S90C, LG C3, and 8080L. 895K display unit from ABT is about $1,700. I'm also watching football.
Buy over there? What are you buying over there for?
What about dimming?
A guy right at the bottom of the screen.
I have to say, it'll be between the A95K and the A80L because you're streaming and TV shows and Netflix and sports. Now, the dimming, if you're watching it in its custom or professional mode, is not much of an issue. And the C3 definitely, I believe, is dimmer than the A95K and the S90C. So you can throw the C3 out. It'll be between the A80L and A95K because I think it'll be sharper. But the A80L will probably look the sharpest, and I don't know if you'll appreciate the differences of QD OLED if you're not a critical watcher. So I'm leaning on the A80L. And if you don't have a soundbar or the HTA9, you got to go with the A80L for those deals. But then that's just me. Robert, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a fan of the A80L primarily. It is the new panel. It is the new second generation processor with, as we said so many times, the contrast enhancer this year, and especially the XR Clear. But I just want to tell you, ABT is a very fine retailer. And they're very much like our company. They care about their customers. They're in the premium end of the business. And we're in the same buying group. We're at the same level with them. We're called Pro Source Power members. So ABT is a good company. I must say that. And I want to mention something as well that I always found very impressive about FOMO and Brian. I don't have any kind of program to pay them anything. Yet they link to us. They bring me on this channel. They don't get paid a penny from me for generating a lot of sales for my company. That is unbelievable. My hat's off to these guys. We share the same thing in common of loving this marketplace, loving home entertainment, wanting to share our hobby with everybody so they can enjoy that kind of home entertainment. And I am so very grateful for the power that they bring of bringing a high volume of clients to me, and they don't get one penny from me. So thank you both for being the great gentlemen that you are. You guys are quite amazing.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure. I'll say selfishly, it's a two-way street. I love Robert and his family. I'm very close to the entire family. But right. What he's done for my channel, as far as if you guys are wondering where I benefit, what are you eating, bro?
I'm drinking my protein. I just realized
Jesus, gotta keep your mic up.
it's been 4 hours since I had my protein hit.
Your
So
mic is loud, but the thing is, what Robert's done for my channel, just having access to these products, it really is a two-way street. I've been able to bring trusting me in the store after hours.
Of course.
Being around all of this, it's something that we've grown in the last number of years, and being around the family. You want to know what we do for each other. A shill, if I want to have a great video called Shill coming out in a few days. But there is nothing but respect. And for me, it's access and being able to bring you guys that without being like channels that buy things, return things, which I think is the same as stealing from a retailer. So I'm very fortunate to be local to Robert. FOMO and I've worked together. We're together as a team. As you've seen with the Valuetronics shootout, we are part of that. We've always been part of that, but now you saw our coverage of it. We're looking to take all these things to the next level. But it's all about being genuine with each other. We all have that as friends.
well, for me, I just keep on wanting to be invited back to Robert's store.
So Robert,
It's like, I gotta keep in his good graces. Go, wait, Robert, bring me back.
Well, Robert, so what have we done, FOMO, with Robert is FOMO and I have kind of cultivated a TV season.
Yes.
And that starts with CES, and where it finishes is the Super Bowl is that Value Electronics TV shootout.
That's right.
But what we've done now is, and Robert's let us do this, we were the first platform to really bring you the S95C versus the G3. That was in his store for, I don't know, 18 or 19 hours. So it's a place of business. And we basically sat there and hung out. So it's friendship. And yes, we help bring sales to the store, but think about that kind of access. It's a place of business where we sat in the middle of, right, FOMO? We're saying hi to customers. How are you? So it really is a two-way street. It's not about affiliate links or anything like that. And with Robert, what I love about his store is he sells everything.
Yeah.
And now with Hisense and even TCL, which he can get access to as well. That's why all these TVs were options of me buying through Robert. I could have gotten anything. But the reality is when they say, oh, it's Sony only because it's Robert, that's complete nonsense because he has everything there. And we will do a tour because you'll see the projectors, you'll see the speakers, the headphones, the turntables. It's not a Sony store. Now, if it was a Sony store, I completely understand, but it's not. And, and for all you guys that see Rob Brennan on the channel, a lot of that is because I met him through Robert at Value Electronics. But I'm also going to have Chirag from Samsung Displays. We're going to have Bruce Walker from TCL. We're going to have a guy from LG. So it's not a Sony channel, but I chose Sony because of the XR Clear. And to me, it's the best TV this year. And for me, the A80L is the best 83 this year, which is why we're there.
And this question, I think, is actually for Robert. And so I will ask the question, and Robert could correct me. Know of a way to save extra on the S90C 77-inch at Best Buy below 2,500. He's jealous of the Samsung AAA price that takes it down to 1,800. But he does have credit at Best Buy for 3,000. So for those who are wondering if they could beat Best Buy, Robert can beat Best Buy to the degree that you got the store credit. And if you're outside of New York, are you still paying for the tax, Robert?
That's correct. We cover the tax, but we don't collect the tax. That's right.
Right.
He pays the tax is what he's saying.
He pays the tax. So guys, that's depending on the state you're in, anywhere from 7 to 9 to 10%.
That's right.
Depending on the state. So you're saving. And if you're planning to get the HTA9 with the S90C or any of the sound bars that Robert carries, you have Samsung, LG, and Sony sound bars.
Yes.
That's a huge bundled savings that you can get through Robert that Best Buy cannot offer. So consider that. But I know you have the Best Buy credit of 3,000, which is what have you been buying there, my friend, for that much credit?
You can't beat that.
Flash deals. So Best Buy, through these brands, will give them limited inventory for this instantaneous flash deal, which Robert also has access to, right, Robert? I mean, when these deals happen, it's flash, it's quick, it's fast. And if Best Buy has it, it's normally posted at midnight. Normally, I mean, sometimes it's like at a 4 p.m. Where did this come from? But normally it's at midnight. So if you refresh every midnight, and more often than not, it's midnight, Sunday to Monday night, right? So Sunday becoming Monday, midnight. Refresh, and then you'll see, and how much inventory they have for that price Once it's gone until the next flash deal. So for the 77-inch S90C, I am very confident they're going to have a flash deal on that because I've seen it at $22.99 at Best Buy during Prime Day season or whatever. So definitely keep on flashing or refreshing away between now and the end of the year. You will catch it. Now, when I see it, I post it. But oftentimes, by the time I post it, by the time you see my alert, they're probably sold out. That's why a lot of people are like, FOMO, it's not there anymore, right? But for those that don't have the Best Buy credit and they still want the flash deal and you don't want to deal with Best Buy, just call Robert and he'll reserve for you that price and then take your time and boom, it's done. And so this is why it's easy to have him on speed dial. Oh, flash deal. But instead of trying to go through the rigmarole of Best Buy, you just speed dial Robert and hopefully catch him.
So staying with that, Robert, do me a favor, because I know this is not known. When we say there's a better deal at this store, can you run us through what the manufacturer's roadmap is for pricing? Because I know a lot of your maintenance for just you updating the website, people think, hey, you're in a high-end area, you price however you want. The reality is you stay by this roadmap that you have weeks and weeks out. So that's why you're able to really match. Is that correct?
That is correct. So each manufacturer has what they call a promotional roadmap, and it shows us 6 to 8 weeks in advance what the sales will be. All sales start, as FOMO correctly said, at 12 p.m. on Sunday, Pacific time, FOMO's time. So that's 3 a.m. in the East Coast. So every Sunday night, I set my alarm clock for a little bit before 3 a.m. New York time so I can update the new prices. They change typically once a week from every brand. So it is a good idea to check them and hit refresh, as FOMO correctly said. And our price and Best Buy and Amazon and everybody else are the same, with the exception of our exclusive bundle promotions, our exclusive launch promotions with 5% store credit, and the fact that we cover the sales tax.
And availability. A lot of time right now,
better from us.
The A95L is sold out in certain sizes. You can't get it at Best Buy, but Robert still has a handle on it.
We have them.
Yeah.
Well, and right. Robert was, and I don't know why Samsung, but you were the only one with the qled.
That's right.
My former TV. But and the thing is, speaking of, we all talk about this in our country about mom and pop. Oh, it's mom and pop. We have sports or mom and pops. Well, there's not more of a mom and pop than Robert, Wendy, and their daughter Leanne.
True. That's right.
So, I mean, there is really beyond one thing, if, there really is no benefit to, if you want to go to the other places, I get it. They're close by the house, but most of these places you're going to ship to anyway, whether you go to Best Buy, they're going to ship it to you. So, I mean, give them a look. I mean, they're part of our community and we're all a community. So I haven't bought a TV anywhere else but there since I've met them. And that's just, how we support each other. But I love that our communities are involved. We love having Robert here, but it really is that, not just that market speak of helping a mom and pop store. It's not a mom and pop and then you walk in and there's 80 people there. It's them.
That's right.
And it's me a lot of times. So you say hi to me, I'll be sitting there. But go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say, we're all very highly skilled and trained, the three of us, and we enjoy personally working with every account through email, through messages and phone and in person. So we want to provide the best quality and the highest level of service and support.
And since you're talking, Robert, Darius has this question for you.
You're loud, FOMO. You're mad loud.
Am I too loud?
You got too many different technologies over there.
I know, it's happening.
Switch some microphone.
Robert, does Value Electronics have the 100-inch U8K for $29.99 that's currently posted at Best Buy?
Thank you. So I saw that happen just today, and I have an appointment on Monday morning with Hisense to see how this surprise extra $1,000 happened, and that would we be able to participate and get some kind of a discount beyond that. But remember, we have free nationwide shipping, we have availability, and we don't collect sales tax. So there are some advantages to us there. And Monday by the afternoon, I'll know what we can do on that.
Thank you for clarifying that, Robert. And let's go to Matthew's question. Torn between the 65-inch A80L S90C, mostly gaming, but some sports and streaming as well. My OLED, I have experience with the C1. How does the A80L compare to the C1 in gaming brightness? Opinions on Samsung smart calibration. So I'll start with the Samsung smart calibration with the phone app. Don't do it. It doesn't do anything. If anything, it makes it worse. And it had a reputation for bricking the TV the first time it came out. But generally speaking, it doesn't work well at all.
Ah,
So let's get that out of the way. Now, as far as the S90C gaming, I think the S90C is a phenomenal TV, but I've only seen it at the 77-inch size. It
Right.
matches the S95C easily, but it's
Yes.
QD OLED. It'll have vibrant, bright HDR, brighter than the A80L. And
Yes.
as both TVs, the A80L and the S90C, is 2 generations ahead of the C1, you're going to get more than just gaming brightness. You're going to get more detail in motion, like better motion resolution. Just everything is a little bit better. But the A80L doesn't have the game bar of the S90C. And if you're accustomed to a game bar, S90C has some amazing settings that I think gamers are used to. I like it a lot. And if you're used to 4 ports of HDMI 2.1, then the S90C has it. So I would say get the S90C. But Brian, Robert, what are your thoughts on him debating? Because he has a C1, but he doesn't know whether to go with the A80L or the S90C.
That is a tough call. You know, again, the processor is quite a bit better on the A90L, but I love QD OLED. So that's a tough call. And if it's mostly gaming and sports, see, sports, the A80L is significantly better because motion and scaling is so much better. But the S90C is probably better for gaming, unless it's a PS5. I don't know. This is a tough call. Brian, what's your thoughts?
It's hard too, Robert, because the C1 is such a current TV in
Yes.
terms of its brightness. The C1 was known to be, a lot of people said it was dim. I never found it dim. So, Matt, if you find it dim, I would then try to go for the S90C if you think it's
Yes.
brighter. But as far as effective FOMO, effective brightness, doesn't really show up much.
Mm-mm.
So you're going to find them pretty comparable. The C2 is a bit brighter. C3 is a bit
Yes.
brighter. I
Yes.
think if you had a C3, you'd find it a bit brighter. Would it be noticeably brighter? I would say no.
Normally, the brightness improvements have been to the specular highlights, but the
Yes.
APL hasn't changed much with WOLED, right? Because
Yeah.
the APL is what there's just not enough power, and they want the longevity. The APL hasn't moved much since the C10, even, right? Just very minor. And MLA was what really pushed the APL average picture level up.
Right.
But since none of these have that, then the S90C will have that slight APL bump just because it's QD OLED.
Yep.
And it also depends if you have a second gen panel too. If you have a 65-inch with a second gen panel, it's an extra few more percentage points, right? So I would still go with the S90C for gaming. I mean, streaming, it's not going to be as good as the A80L. So that's the other compromise, right? I mean, how important is streaming sharpness and upscaling to you is another question.
Yeah, so I can tell you this. Some pretty ugly movies look really good on the A80L. So my
Talk about Gilligan's
experience,
Island.
so MASH, season 19. I was telling FOMO, and Robert,
Columbo.
I meant to tell you was even Apple TV, Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, these first 4K Blu-rays, and streaming them much cleaner on the A80L versus my C1. And C1 being a pretty recent TV. What I like about Sony versus, say, Samsung and even LG is that with LG, when I'm watching something, I need to change the preset almost always. Okay, cinema here, filmmaker here, standard here. Sony, you can pretty much set it and forget it. Meaning, if you want to keep it out of the box, it's fine. But custom, if you're with the new one is professional for the A95, but you can put it in custom or cinema and just leave it and be fine. And that's what I found with the A80L. Very rarely do I have to even reach for the remote because it's good with whatever it's in. And I can't say that about the other manufacturers. I do have to change the LG all the time, and I love the LG. With the Sony, I can pretty much, Robert, even with the A80J, just leave it on whatever preset and I'll be fine. And that's an advantage if you're streaming. And again, I mentioned you said it with sports as well.
And Christian has a great question. If I hold off on buying a 100-inch right now, will we see Black Friday prices again for the Super Bowl next year? And so something to keep in mind. So I'm assuming you're talking about the 100-inch U8K. I suspect inventory is limited, When they sell out, whatever the inventory is, it's going to be gone. So I don't
Well,
even know if they'll
Christian has
last
the best
into-
profile picture, first of all. Like,
I
I'm
was gonna
making that.
say,
You're going to be my new profile picture. That is like the most professional headshot I've ever seen.
I was gonna say,
And I
it's
met
like-
Christian. I think I met Christian at M-Wave, but I'm
Yes,
taking
we
that
did.
headshot.
Yes, we did.
That's going to be the new Brian Tech Therapy logo, is Christian's face, because that is the most
And-
professional. I can't even look like that.
And Christian, if you're holding off until next year anyway, just wait, because Hisense will release the UX maybe at 100-inch. Definitely the UK will come back. The U8K as the U8L will come back. So don't rush into it. If it's great and it's available now at the right price, get it. If not, hold off. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by the models coming out next year. And on a follow-up to that,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want
Oh,
to
I was just gonna
finish with his thing real quick.
Okay, and then Christian wants, thank you for the super chat. Another comment. One of the venues I work at has 3 98-inch QADCs, which is an amazing gaming TV for those of you who want to game immersively at 98-inch and cannot afford a 97-inch LG G2 for $25,000. This will get you closer to what you have at, I think it's 5,000 now, 5 or 6,000. And Robert also carries the QADC 98-inch as well. They were on Apple TV for Amazon Thursday Night Football. They all looked really good. And so this is what we fail to remember is we are so deep into HDR and all these things. But when you see a 98-inch TV just showing sports, you're like, oh, that is just so awesome. Because how we've progressed from TVs 8 years ago to where we are today, and we're just watching football, the contrast is still better overall. So even the QADC, which is just full array local dimming with minimal zones, it still looks phenomenal. And that's why I'm a big fan that if you have the room and the space, next year will be huge, literally, for TVs and consumers. And I'm almost caught up to all my super chats. Thank you, Jack Silva. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Answer the answer. Room is moderately bright, but can close shades during the day if needed. A80L. Okay, so is the A80L okay if his room is moderately bright and he can close the shades during the day? I personally think it is because it has great anti-glare reflection that will definitely help control the brightness in your room as far as glare, just regular glare. But Brian and Robert, I'm sure you get this question all the time. When you're choosing a TV to go into a customer's room, Robert, you're also looking at the ambient lighting. How does the A80L compete with other models in this regard?
It's an excellent choice for its price, performance, value, and especially for the picture quality for moderate to low ambient light. So
Yeah, if you
it's
can-
a
if you can
very
control
good
the light,
choice for
Robert.
Jack.
Right.
What's
And,
that?
and Robert always says, you hear him on the phone all the time, if you can control the light at all, and he's
Right.
saying that he can, if you can have shades versus just some regular curtains, then the sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. Because you can have a lamp on in the back, all that. And what I think by ambient light, you're fine. It's direct sunlight, Robert, that we have a hard time with.
Yes.
Otherwise, I think you're fine.
Yeah. A80L is perfect for Jack. Perfect.
There you go. And Matthew wanted to clarify. Thanks, guys. I don't own the C1. My old roommate did, but same thing. You've been ruined by OLED. Once you see OLED and how good it is with infinite contrast, you just can't go back.
That's
So
right.
yeah, you'll be choosing from OLED moving
Is he your
forward.
old roommate because he had an OLED? Like, get out of my house. Kicked him out. He's not. Is he an older roommate or he just got rid of him?
So, bro, we're going to wrap up in about 10, 15 minutes.
So real
ask
quick,
your
do me a
questions
big
now. Go
favor.
ahead.
Can you put up? Let's throw my boy Iceman and the Bob Tech, Iceman and Bob Tech Gaming on just whatever comment he has. Just
Oh,
throw him
yeah,
on the
yeah,
screen
yeah.
for me.
All right, real quick here. Let's find him. Where's
So here's a
Iceman?
good. He's a good friend of the channel and our channels, our community.
Here he is.
He changed his profile pic. And Robert, he was also at the shootout. You were kind enough to have him there, and he
Right.
was very helpful. Great guy, very knowledgeable, calibration, very
Thank you.
smart. But he hung out with us, FOMO. He was on camera with us. He's got a channel. So do me a favor, please.
Wait. Not only did he hang out, he helped speak to the audience while he's adjusting the camera, running around.
He was
talking
there.
people through the UX. I mean, he was being FOMO embodied.
But
I
he is
love
the
it.
epitome of like attracts like, and I know Robert subscribes to that as well. He's a big part of our community, and he's always here. But anytime someone like this has a channel, we will always support them. And please do me a favor, click on him, subscribe to him. He does great content, but he's very knowledgeable, super passionate. And Robert, he was there helping us. He was there the entire time. And I want to just give him a little love and follow him back. But he's a very good guy, very passionate. But also that ability that we've all done. And Robert, I did that when I first met you, and we still do it. Where can I help? What can I do? And he was that guy that spent the time with us. And we'll see him next year. But check out his channel. He's a great guy.
There he is.
And hit him up. But
That's
we all
it.
need to support each other. Check out his videos. Look at him. He's got so much content up there. But I want to show him some love. And I want to thank him with Robert on the channel. Thank him for his help. And thanks for joining us at the shootout.
Thank you. You bet. Very nice.
And here's a question.
Nice man. Let's do some things together.
Well, he's coming in from Atlanta. This is gonna be a long drive for sure.
Well, having that connection, I mean, he was at the shootout though, and
Yes.
we talk about this with influencers in the shootout. It's more is more. If it's somebody of high quality and high character, then I think it's always welcome, right, Robert?
Absolutely.
But there's a trust thing here with anything we deal with. Anybody that we can vouch for, anybody I can vouch for with Robert, it has to be somebody of high caliber and high character. And he is definitely that. So we want these events to be bigger than ever, but we want quality people there. And this community is full of quality people. We love you guys and really appreciate you being here. But subscribe to him, as it's very hard to grow a YouTube channel. Oh, Game Enthusiast was there too. Game Enthusiast was at the shootout as well. Had the best, I think he had the Cammy Street Fighter coat on. Follow him and subscribe to him. Guys, doing a YouTube channel is very, very difficult, but we're all part of this community. You're spending a Saturday night with us. Robert's spending his time with us. And I have tremendous love for Robert and his family, for FOMO and his family. This is a true friendship. But no one's getting past me into that room unless I vouch for you, because I'll handle business. I'm his bodyguard as well, and he's a great guy, and I loved having him there. So subscribe to both those guys, Game Enthusiast and Iceman, but I appreciate all their help for what they do for me, FOMO, and for helping us at the shootout.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes. Okay. So yes, just like I have great relationships with the YouTubers, I have very strong relationships with the professional video calibrators. So I have a good list of the ones that I like best all across the country, and I'm happy to recommend those people. And we also have a very exclusive VIP package where we do a full quality control to ensure that we're selecting a good sample. Then we do a proper break-in to stabilize the TV. And then we have Dwayne Davis, D-Nice, tune it up. He's the top professional calibrator. So we have a VIP service nationwide where we take the inventory out of our stock and then we properly maintain it and ship it to you. But otherwise, if you already own a TV, give me a call, send me an email, and I'll recommend someone local to you as well.
And that break-in is legit, because that's what's old. When you guys see me shooting at the store, if I get a bad angle, it's because I'm leaning over TVs that are in the break-in process. So that you can't break them in. That's what's funny about the A95L, Robert, right? We had the shootout move to make room for that TV because it needed to break in to be there. We weren't going to just pull it out of the box.
No.
So that break-in period is more important, and the QC to me is what's really, really important these days. And then having obviously Dwayne calibrate it, and the other calibrators are amazing, especially at the shootout this year. We had Dwayne, we had Jason, we had Cecil was amazing with the shootout, and the
John Riformato.
John Riformato was there. So and getting to know people in this business, a lot of that is through Robert and even through FOMO, and I do appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for being here. So hopefully that answers your question, Wavy. And for anyone else wondering where they can get professional calibration near them, give Robert a call. He does know all the I mean, there's not that many, by the way, so he knows them all. And I'm sure he'll find one that is close to you.
And Dwayne Phillips, if he's still in the chat, he calibrates too. So if he's in there, he doesn't have a channel, but if he's in there, and we're going to try and get him to help us, get him in contact with you too, Robert. He's a great guy, been part of the channel, both of our communities for a long time. But he had Jason, I believe, as his teacher. So
that's right.
A lot of great guys out there.
Jason is everybody's teacher. If you're a level 3, he was
Yeah, he's the man.
He is the man, Jason. Yeah. Michael has a great question because he brings durability into the equation. I only watch YouTube in a medium to bright room, so that makes it a lot easier. Will I see a difference in the A80L upscaling for $26.99 over the S90C for $19.99? With a 5-year life expectancy, should I even consider the U7 or Q7? So here's what I would say. You could kind of do a compromise. If you are considering an LCD anyway, what about a Sony X90L, where you get the upscaling of the XR clear, the extra size? The X90L at 85 inches is
That'd be nice.
$19.99,
That'd
right? And if you're coming from an LCD TV, it'll still be an improvement over where you are, but you'll get the 5-year life expectancy because I like the simplicity of the X90L. This is why I say the X90L has a longer life expectancy. Obviously, it's an LCD TV with a proven technology without mini LED. It doesn't have too many dimming zones, less moving parts, less electronics, transistors, and the like. It's just easier to last longer. OLEDs generally are good, but beyond 5 years, not many people have owned OLEDs that long. And the ones that have all complain of burn-in because they bought it back in 2017, right? So the newer ones, 2000 or 2010, 2020. I'm off by a decade. You got your OLED in 2019, 2018. It's barely 5 years old, right? And then even then, those who bought it in 2017 have already complained of burn-in. So to play it safe, if you want more than 5 years, I suggest the Sony X90L XR Clear. That gets you the upscaling and the size. So, but what are your thoughts, guys?
Go ahead, Robert.
So this is another tough call. And I was just looking at somebody else and I was writing an answer to them. Let's see. Medium to bright room. I don't know. Probably the S90C. Is that what you were thinking also, FOMO?
I was thinking 5-year life expectancy. So I got the X90L because of the 5-year life.
Oh, yeah. X90L.
So the 5-year life expectancy. If it was me where it's like I change my underwear every year, that doesn't sound good. But anyway, so you change your underwear once a year, then the S90C, because, new TV. But yeah, if it's 5 years.
X90L. I love that.
Well, Robert, and I know Wendy and I joke about this because they order the X90s for me every year to review.
That's right.
Right. So X90J, X90K, X90L, and then someone then purchases it. But what's so funny is that TV always gets criticized. Well, hey, it's too expensive. Within the end of the year, it definitely is the TV everybody wants because it's the entry level into their ecosystem. This year, FOMO labels the X90L as your entry into XR Clear. Yes. And that's what sets it apart from all the other LEDs. Samsung as well is boom. All of a sudden, there is that. Oh, what's up, Mark?
Wait, can we give shout out to Mark? So he is.
He worked at Chernobyl.
So here's an actual nuclear engineer. I'm just saying this story is so funny. And it took Brian hours to convince him to subscribe. He's like, who are you? I run a YouTube channel.
He walks in, he's like, he goes into FOMO, right? And he's like, hey, I know you. I'm like, what's up? He goes, oh, Brian, I know you. I'm not subscribed. Right? To spend the whole weekend with the guy. He goes, yeah, I'm not ready. I was like, finally, he tells me like 2 weeks later. I think on Facebook, he might have been like, I'm part of it now.
So Brian he was carrying TVs, helping him out, goes, have I earned your subscription? He's like, man, I don't know.
I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence. And I kept calling him nuclear. I kept saying Chernobyl. He's like, he's a legit, well, I don't know, he's not a physicist, but he works for it. He'll correct me in the comments.
He was a naval nuclear engineer.
Yeah. I'm not gonna mess. I don't mess with that kind of guy.
No. The best story is like, after we fix the submarines, all the people who worked on it, they go inside and they do the test drive. So if anyone does anything wrong, you better tell us now, or the submarine takes us all with them. I'm like,
he put engineer in cap. Mark put it in caps. I got you, engineer. My bad. If you put nuclear in front of anything, I'm all set. Getty G, man, whatever money you saved on that 100-inch, you were spending in super chats.
Well, thank you. We're getting the savings. And so Getty wants to share. My problem now is if I ever decide to buy my first OLED in the future, I can't honestly go back from 100-inch. So this is what we tell people, right? If you get a large TV and it's an LCD, you're stuck on the size. Now you have to wait for OLED to catch up. And in your case, you're waiting for the LG OLED at 97 inches to drop from 25,000 to under 5,000, which is where you are. It's going to take a while, my friend, but we will get there for sure. And at home in Oklahoma City, hey, which LG panel do you think Samsung is using on the 83-inch S90C? It is likely the same panel as the C3. Essentially, it doesn't have MLA, it doesn't have a heatsink. It is a C3 panel, and then what Samsung does after that with the power board and the whatever they do with the processor is up to Samsung, their SoC. But it's essentially a WOLED. Now, I don't know what generation WOLED is. It a C2 or a C3? I mean, you know, is it the one with the Evo and all these weird chemistries? Who knows? But after reviewing those, the differences are so minor. They more go to efficiency. One might be more efficient than the other. So you're not really going to see a visible difference in terms of image quality that's not more affected by Samsung's processing layer rather than the actual panel itself. And here we go. Hey, DGTV, thank you for the super chat. I'm deciding between a 65-inch A95L and the 77-inch G3. My use case, 50% sports, 30% streaming, 20% gaming. What are your thoughts? Coming from a 55-inch Hisense, okay, you win no matter what. I go with the size, 77-inch G3, because 50% sports. Robert, I'm sure you get this question all the time because the prices are very similar. What would you tell DGTV?
I would go with the size also. And the G3 is a beautiful TV. It's got the micro lens array, which was a very good response from LG against the QD OLED. They did a good job on that one. I would go for size. And the G3 is a beautiful TV. Now, the A95L is better. But when you compare screen size, the G3, I think, is a much more immersive and more enjoyable experience.
Funny side tip. It's called MLA because Robert called it MLA. According to LG.
It stands for micro lens array.
It's actually micro lens array.
Robert started. What it is it's 33 million little tiny lenses that go over each and every subpixel. So it boosts not only the peak lumens, but it also boosts each color. So you have more color saturation and more color volume. MLA is brilliant.
But what I love about it is that LG engineers named it micro lens array. Robert was like, MLA. And then they're in LG going, what's it called? It's called micro lens. Like, well, Mr. Zone. All right. So you actually came up with the moniker MLA. I heard that from LG. It's like, it's called, I guess let Robert name it.
But this is truly an industry insider right here.
But I would say same thing. G3 is close enough and the size is epic. I will say for any TV, even the 77-inch A95L, why didn't I choose it? Why is it called No Bueno? Which is, we didn't even do that video yet, FOMO. We have to.
We need to do A95. Well, now that the European comparison's out, now I can do a real No Bueno.
Blind is exactly what that is. So it's the best TV in the world, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Damn, Getty G, man. Best TV in the world. My next best TV was the Z2.
Yes.
For those of you that keep asking Robert in the comments about the Z3 does exist. It is in Japan only because they have
Korea.
So is the Z9.
Korea.
Japan has the 2.8K broadcast.
So Japan and
Japan,
I'm sorry,
Korea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the LG Z3.
So the Z3, yes. So it is there. That's where that is. But the A95L is the best TV in my opinion by far. Pound for pound, whatever you want to say.
Yes.
It just can't grow. It's not a child, meaning it will not get larger. So if you need an 80-inch TV, no matter what, it will not fit the bill. So when people say to me, why don't you just go 77? It just can't grow. So if you're in an 80-inch size, as good as that TV is, it's not going to get bigger for you. So my point is the A95L versus the G3, A95L is a better TV. It is not 10 inches bigger or 13 inches bigger or better, I should say. Forget about price. So a TV, we always say this, Robert, size beats quality if the TV of size is a very high quality. So a C3 versus an A95L 77 is hard to go against a 65 because of the size difference.
Right.
So if you need a larger TV, it can be because if that was the case, Robert, we'd all have these reference monitors at our house.
Right.
That thing would look like it was a phone over there. So that's something to always keep in mind, guys. Why people were surprised I went with the A80L is because I was on record saying the A95L is the best TV in the world. It is, and I have access to them all. Thank you to Robert. I have access to them all. I chose this one because it's for my specific use case. This room, when I'm here, what I use it for, this is the best TV in the world for me. And that's the way you should always look at whatever purchase you make. What's the best TV for you? Even if budget is no option, FOMO and Robert, budget isn't always the answer. If you need, a certain thing, if budget is not the case, you'll still find yourself with a different choice because it's not about the most expensive, is it?
That's right.
I'm just rambling now.
And Love Tech Lynn Loves Tech has this great question. Hey guys, 65-inch A95L or G3? Which one? I have the A90J, so this is great. She's coming from a very good OLED. I love the 3D look on the G3. No gaming. That makes it a lot easier. A90J to A95L, is there a big difference? Robert, I'm in New York. Do I pay the sales tax? Yes, you do, Lynn. The New York will always get you.
Well, if you're in New York, you can come by it in person. We'll hang out with you if that helps.
Offsets the price.
We'll say hi.
So when you come from an OLED, now the infinite contrast, they all have it. It's the little things. And so if you don't do gaming and you do like the 3D look on the G3, I believe the A95L has that 3D look and a little bit more. I believe the XR Clear adds more of that depth because it does do the micro contrast, a little bit sharpening, a little bit better. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, first of all, Love Tech Lynn, love your name. Appreciate your super chat. And I don't want to discriminate against you because you're from New York. If you came here through FOMO and Brian, I'm paying the tax for you.
Oh,
nice. And if you come on the day that I'm there,
you'll sign it. You'll sign the TV in the back.
Oh, she's in Albany. It's like, well, I guess that still goes, right? You're still in New York. Well, thank you, Robert. That's very nice of you.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Very cool. See, everyone's included.
Now you will notice a difference in A95L in streaming because we all noticed that difference at the shootout.
Yes.
And the G3 was there and the S95C was there. So the A95L, if you're streaming, you will feel that difference on whatever streaming content, especially if it's YouTube or YouTube TV, like the weaker bit rates. So I definitely recommend the A95L if that's your budget. And I like the audio way much more than the G3. So if you don't have a sound bar, the audio closes the deal. If the picture quality is so close, the audio seals it for me. What are you guys thinking?
So I'll let me jump in there, Robert. I'm going to totally disagree with my partner right here. I'm going to disagree. Because the way the A95L is set up this year, the presets are completely different.
Right.
So standard on the A95L does not look like the A90J at all. So if you put them side by side and you went for standard versus standard, vivid versus vivid, the live color is much more powerful on the A95L. They basically revamped all of the presets. So to me, I think FOMO, to your point, say you calibrate them and then put them in custom and then maybe professional, they may look similar. But for me, out of the box, because when I had the A95L at the store, Robert, the A80J was on the other side, and I did match them. They do not look the same at all. They look very different from one another. You will see a big difference in them preset for preset. I think you would love, and the A90J is awesome, but to me, the A90J is just an old, here's what FOMO, I think you're trying to say too. When you get to the even playing ground of infinite contrast and micro contrast, those little things make a difference. The A95L is just on another level because of the way it's set up, right, Robert? Those different vibrant presets just are very loud. They don't look, it doesn't look like the A80L either. It just looks a lot different. I wish the A80L was that vibrant. It's just got a vibrant look. And I gave this to Rob Brennan and we did talk about it. It did take a cue, FOMO, from Samsung.
Yeah,
where their saturation is just on another planet right now, and you would notice a difference there. Love Tech Lynn.
That's right.
And I think that's all the super chats we have. And well, we're going to wrap it up. Robert, thank you for being so patient with us. And Brian, are you still planning to have a stream right after this?
If anyone wants to hang out with me, we can hang out for another hour or so on my channel. I would love to have you guys
Okay.
over. You guys want to just hang out?
I'll jump on for a few minutes on your channel as well. So you want to, let's see, you guys know Brian's channel, right? You guys got to know Brian's channel. Come on.
So
It's,
let
it's,
me, I'll
I
move it up.
keep wanting to call you Whisper Tech for some reason.
What's funny is now people still refer to me as Whisper Status, though before that everybody called me Brian. Before it was Brian's Tech Therapy.
Yep. Now they want, wait, we like that old name, Whisper Status, Whisper
yeah,
something.
So yeah, I'll set it to 6:45. If you guys want to jump over there, we can go live then, and we'll hang out for like an hour, and we'll just hang out. You know?
Yeah, let's do it. The stream starts in 5 minutes.
Yep, we'll do it at 6:45.
Go to Brian's channel. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. Oh, we have one more super chat. Go ahead, Robert.
Oh, I was just saying thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you.
And thank you for being so gracious. For now everyone's going to show up. By the way, Robert, my name is Love Tech Lynn. I heard you were. So Nifty Guy has a super chat. S90C or C3? Will I miss Dolby Vision? Any reason for the B3 over the C3? No, you won't. That's my opinion. I think the S90C looks phenomenal. It is way brighter. It's just better than the C3 in many ways. Now, if it's the S90C versus the G3, there's some argument. I don't believe you'll miss Dolby Vision. Any reason for the B3 over the C3? Only if you're going 77-inch. The B3 is actually a phenomenal deal at $1,800. The B3, that's actually very good, because at that size, it's slightly dimmer, but the size kind of offsets it. Its gaming is good enough. It's got 2 ports of HDMI 2.1. I think that's fine. I like the price at 77-inch of the B3. At the smaller sizes, the price isn't as compelling. So I think... Oh, and Gaming Tech is said, hey, Gaming Tech, we were just talking about you, and now we're leaving. We're going to go to Brian's channel. Hey, guys, I'm here. Oh, now we're gone.
I gave him a shout out, too.
I know, right? We give you a shout out, too. All right, we're heading over to Brian's channel. So come on, Gaming Tech, go over there. And until next time, everybody, stop the FOMO. And thank you to my guests, Robert Zone at Value Electronics, and Brian, otherwise known as Whisper Tech, Whisper Status, Brian's Tech Therapy, the man.
Thanks for coming on, Robert.
On
really
this
appreciate
stream.
it.
I love you all. Bye.
Love you guys. Take
Thank
care.
you so much. All the best. Thank you.